everyone, and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanis. In the last episode, we took care of our ragdoll zombie. Fantastic! We shoot him, he falls down. It looks really good. In this episode, guys, I'd like to take a look at we're going to go back to some special effects here. We're going to take a look at creating a electrical puddle. And this is just an example. I'm not going to do too many examples of environmental effects like this. I'm going to leave that up for you guys to do. We already took a look at fire. We're going to take a look at electricity now. And really and truly, these are just samples. You can come up with your own ideas and use the techniques that I'm showing in these episodes to really create your own standout special effects, standout environmental effects. All right, guys, let's get started. Okay, guys, so as I mentioned, we're going to be building an environmental effect today, an electrical environmental effect. And I picked electrical randomly. I just wanted to show you guys how to do one more kind of environmental effect. That's all I really wanted to do. It's pretty straightforward. If you've done one of these, and you've probably done, we've already done fire, and we're not going to be any more complicated than fire. To be honest, no more complicated than fire. So we're really just going to take a look at building the effect itself. Now, what I want to make sure, I'm not going to go through, I'm calling this thing an electrical puddle, and I didn't build a puddle model. I didn't build something that made it look like it should be electrified, like there's no toaster going from the wall into the puddle, or anything like that. I just built the actual effect. If you guys are building a full-fledged game, I really recommend that you go through, if this is something you're going to want other people to play, then you go through and you add the appropriate things to give your players a warning that something is wrong with this, other than just simply the graphic itself. People are going to look at the game and say, well, why the hell is there electricity here? It doesn't make sense. That's part of level design, guys, and we don't really discuss level design in these episodes. I'm leaving that up to you. If someone's interested in that, then let me know, and maybe we can take a look at it in the future. But for now, we're not really doing that. We're just going through and building the assets that you need to make yourself a game. I'm leaving level design completely up to you, but make sure you're giving your players an idea of what they're seeing and why they're seeing it. Okay, so to start off with, let's go through and build ourselves a couple of materials here. We're going to go through and say create, and we're going to say create a material, boom. Let's name it electricity. Electricity. All right, and it's not going to be your standard shader. We're going to go through and we're going to use a particle system, and we are going to use we're going to use particle, and we're going to use the alpha blended, all right, instead of the normal one. And basically, I've already gone through and downloaded a couple of textures that I found. You can either make your own, make them through Photoshop or whatever, or download them. It's up to you. I'm not doing anything in this game other than showing you guys stuff. But if you are going to be selling your game, make sure you guys are using legal assets, okay? Make sure you're using legal assets or paying the licenses you need to pay for. Anyway, for now, I'm going to find electricity. Here it is. All right, that's my electricity. And if I take a look, yep, that's how I want it to look, and that's great. And now there's two things that I'm going to have within this electrical puddle. I was going to have kind of something on the floor where if you walk in it, you take damage, and I was going to have some arcing as well, just to show a more environmental effect and kind of show, make it even more evident that there's danger in this area. So I'm going to create another material right now. Might as well just make them both. Another material. Once again, this is going to be a particle system. This time it's just going to be an additive. We'll just use the additive for this one here. Once again, I have another texture that I've downloaded called arcing. And so we're gonna have a I didn't rename it though. We're gonna have ourselves a puddle. Let's call it electrical arcing. All right. We're going to have ourselves a puddle that has this, or a spot that has this low-level electricity on it, and we're going to have these larger tendrils kind of shooting up in the air, just to give you a more visual cue that, something is different here, something is dangerous. So electrical arcing will be those tendrils, and the electricity itself is going to be the stuff that we see on the ground. Okay? So to start off with, fairly straightforward, guys. Not a whole lot here. What we're going to do is we're going to say game object. We're going to create a brand new game object. Let's create a particle system, because that's ultimately what we're going to need. We're going to leave it rotated the way it is. I'm going to set it to 0. I'm just going to set it to 0 here so that we're directly underneath the player right now and we're building where we want to build. First thing we're going to do, open up our particle system, and we are going to change this to our brand new renderer, to our brand new sprite sheet, which was called electricity. Alright, there we go. So that's not working exactly the way we wanted. Obviously, that's better. It's no longer the default particles, but it's not what we want. Let's pause this for a second so we can see it. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I can see. There are 9 different electrical sparky things there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 9 that I can see. We want to change we want to turn on our sprite sheet, our texture sheet animation. And because it's 1 across and 9 down, we want it to be 1 by 9. All right, and that's going to give us, if we hit play right now, let's just simulate this again. Instead of just being those things flying up in the air, we're going to see our electrical arcing change around. All right, so far so good. What we don't want this thing to be flying up in the air, and we don't want it to be going so fast. So we're going to go through now and change some of the default particle system here. We've got ourselves a duration of 5. That's fine. The looping is fine. That's what we want. We don't want any start delay. Great. Our lifetime is relatively long. We don't want it to be long like that. And there we go. Now we can actually see the animation occurring from the actual texture sheet, and that's great. We obviously don't want any start speed. We want it to be 0. We don't want it to be moving. We want it on the floor. That looks good. That looks pretty darn good right there. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Let's change it so that the start lifetime, let's give it a constant between 2 values. Let's make it between 0.5. So some of them are shorter lived, and 1. And that's fine. Start speed we're going to leave like that. You can go through and change your start size and everything else if you want to. Let's do it constant between 2. Let's make it between 1 and let's say 2. Maybe make a couple of them a little bigger. It's up to you guys. Make sure you like it the way it looks. That's a little bit too big for me. 1.5. That's a little better. All right, so that looks okay to me. I don't like the area of effect. All right, we're probably still using our cone because that is our default shape, and we are. I'm going to set it up instead so we're using a box. And with this object rotated -90, we're going to be affecting, for the box, we're going to be affecting the Z value. So no, I'm lying, not the Z value, the Y value. Make it a little wider so we've got a little bigger area. And let's affect the X value so we've got a little larger area. So once you make this thing bigger, that's a little too tall for me. I'm going to shrink it down in the Z. All right, once you've got yourself an area that you like, that shows a much larger electrical area there, and I've got it just off the ground, or just maybe even just through the ground a little tiny bit. All right, that's kind of what you want it to do. I want the arcing to kind of appear every once in a while, up and down, up and down. That's what I was looking for out of this anyway. All right, so that doesn't look so bad to me. Obviously, you'd want to build a puddle, like I said, or you want to build a toaster or something that's going to go in there to make a reason why this thing has been electrified. There's a couple of things that we need. I don't think we have to change anything else, to be honest. You can go through and make this thing look the way you'd like it to look. All the electricals going in the same direction, so we could have a kind of a random start rotation. Let's see how we do if we have a random start rotation between two constants. Let's say between 0 and 90. No, I don't like it. I liked it as it was, just 0. So just go back to a constant, which was just 0. You can go through and probably rotate these in a specific direction if you want to. Go through it and look at your I don't even know if it'll change anything. I haven't really checked all this stuff. Let's see what happens when we say rotation over lifetime. What if we add some? All right, not what I like. Not what I like. You guys go through and make it look the way you like it. All right, that's the whole point of these things here, make it look the way you like it. Now we're going to need a few other things. We want to affect the character when they walk inside, and we want some kind of diegetic sound as well. We don't want to just be silent. All right, so let's add those things. Adding sound, really, really easy. All we're going to do, let's close off our particle system because we don't need to see it now. I'm going to leave it like that. That's fine for me. I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add an audio source, and I'm going to add an audio source, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to change a couple of things. First of all, I've got a clip. I've got an audio clip that I think was called electricity. Great. We've got an electrical audio clip. We are going to set this thing up so that it plays on the wake, great, and it loops. That's what we want, because this might be there for a long time. We are going to move this thing across, so we've got ourselves a 3D sound, and that puts it in the 3D, meaning that as you walk away from the sound source, the sound should get quieter, and as you come closer to it, it gets louder. We're going to change the max distance for my game to 20. And that probably should work out fine, I would think. And so other than that, so we've got ourselves the diegetic sound. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have this thing affect the character so that it harms the character in some way. I think this is probably too loud. Let's check it out first. If it's too loud, I'll always turn the sound. I can always turn down to like half or something like that. Anyway, we're going to want to have this affect the character in some way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shrink this up for now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add component, and we've already got an existing script. The reason why I made the things the way I did is so that we could easily plug and play and create new environmental obstacles or new enemies very, very quickly. So let's go in and take a look at our scripts. Our scripts that we are going to require in order to affect our player is the enemy damage script. If you really wanted to, you could go in and write another script that had it affect the enemies as well. So maybe you'd set up a trap, have the zombies walk into the electricity. It's up to you guys. You should be able to do that now just by manipulating the enemy damage script. All right. So with that in place, what I want to do is I want to have a fair amount of damage. Let's say 1, and I want to have it damage rate very high. So let's say every 1/10 of a second that the character's within the electrical area. That they take damage, all right? And lastly, the pushback force, I'm not going to have the character shot out. If the character steps in the electricity, they're going to start taking electrical damage immediately, okay? Now, the last thing we need to go along with our enemy damage script is, of course, our add component. We need our physics, and we need our, let's put in a box collider for this one, and it's going to be a trigger. So if the character walks in here, they're going to trigger this, and they're going to start taking damage immediately from the enemy damage script. And this looks like too big. It's a little bit large. Let's shrink it down in the Y. No, not in the Y. It's in the Z in this orientation. Not in the Z. Control Z. I'm still doing the Y. That's why. Size in the Z. Let's shrink it down so that it's really on the ground. Let's move it up. It's still far too big. And shrink it down. We just need a small area that if the character could be able to jump over if they really wanted to. And I'll put this back down on the ground. All right. So maybe the character can jump over that. I don't know. But with just that in place, when I hit play, my character should fall in there and start taking damage immediately and die after a little while. Let's see. So a lot of damage. He takes a lot of damage. He takes a small amount of damage over a long period of time if I stand in there. That sounds a little bit loud. I'm going to turn the sound down. That's a fair amount of sound. All right, so that is exactly how I wanted it to work. That's great. Let's open up our audio source. Let's turn our volume down to half. There we go. Let's see how that sounds. Just die. That's better. I like that sound better. All right, there we go. So that works exactly as we want it to work. Great. I do want to add, and this is just for a visual. Oh, first of all, I'm going to change the name of this. Let's change the name to electrical puddle, even though there's no puddle there. I'm going to add, and this is just for aesthetic value, I'm going to add a new, I'm going to create a new particle system, and this is going to be my arcing. Ultimately, I'm going to put it underneath, so for now, I'm just going to call this electrical arcing, All right, and I'm going to leave it, I'm going to put it at 0, 0, 0, exactly where the other one was. Oops. Come on, 0 and 0. All right, it's right back at the origin, right on top of the other one, and ultimately I'm going to drag it, I'm going to drop it underneath the electrical puddle, so they're all working together, and that's cool. What I want to do for this one here, once again, particle system, I want to go through, I'm going to make a lot of the similar changes. First of all, render, it is going to be not our default, but it is going to be our arcing. Is that what I called it, arcing? Can't remember. Electrical arcing. It's going to be our electrical arcing, and basically, it's going to have a lot of the exact same things. We're going to have its own sound, so you could really pull this off if you wanted to. You can see there that it is also a texture sheet. We're going to be using our texture animation, and this time it is. Let me stop it and see. I think it's just the same thing, just sideways. Let me pause this. It is. It's the same one sideways. All right, so I guess I wasn't too fancy. I didn't remember that. All right, let's open up our texture sheet, and this time here we're going to turn it on, boop, and it's going to be a 9 by 1. And this time here, what we're looking for is like these tendrils to shoot out every once in a while. So once again, we're going to have ourselves a looping. Let's go back up here. We're going to have a 5 durations fine looping system. No start delay again. Our lifetime. Let's make it relatively short. Let's make it a constant between 2 values again. Between 2 values, and let's make it 0.1 to 0.5. So we're just going to see these short bursts of electricity that comes out. I'm going to have the start speed obviously of 0 again because I want the arc itself to not to be moving up and down. I kind of want to stay in place. And I'm going to have the start size. Let's make our start size larger because what we're looking for, we're not looking for the same thing we had before. We're not looking for these little tiny electrical things along the ground. We're looking for large bubbling electricity like that. I think that should be fine. Maybe we'll make it even larger depending. That's not super tall. But let's check and see. All right, that'll be fine for now. We'll leave it like that for now. And basically what we want to do, once again, we want to set up our emissions. We're gonna change things around so we have a very low emission rate. In fact, what we're going to do, let's set up our emission rate to 0, actually. We're going to set it to 0. And what I want to do is have a particle burst. And I'm going to have a burst of 1. So every once in a while, we're only going to get 1 particle coming out at any given time at all. Every 5 seconds, only 1 particle coming out. And the shape itself, I think we can leave it. What we probably want to do, though, is it's currently a cone. If we really wanted to, we could set it up so it was either a box or a hemisphere. It doesn't really matter. We just want it going upright. Is basically how we want it to work. So it doesn't really matter how it's going. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to raise it up. And I'm going to use the hemisphere itself to raise the entire thing up. And I'm going to have it emit from the shell itself. All right. So now it's only going to be coming from the shell. And if I have it go in a random direction, we're not going to really sure which direction it's going to actually go. All right. So I'll use both of those for now. That's cool. Just to see how it looks. The radius, let's make our radius a little bigger. It's going to all depend on it's all going to depend on you guys. You guys can go through and change this. What happens if I play? Let's move our player out of the way first of all, so we're not being zapped constantly. Let's go up to our soldier. Just move him. I'm not going to move him. I'll move my puddle actually, so we can still see it off to the side. Electrical puddle. Let's move it over here. All right. And when I hit there, that's a nice big electrical charge. Let's see. Play. We should see one. There we go. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that arcing effect. And that's going to give a little bit better warning to our actual player that, whoa, something's there. And you can either move that up or move it down by increasing the size of your actual hemisphere. It might only be coming out of here. I'm not really sure. It might only be coming out around the perimeter of the base of the hemisphere, but you could use different things to make sure it moves up or down, depending on what you want to do. All right, we want to add a couple of things here. I want to have an electrical charge that sounds every once in a while. Oh, I've got the wrong one selected. Electrical charge that sounds every once in a while. So I'm going to add a component. And once again, I'm going to add an audio component, and I'm going to add an audio source. And in this case here, for the audio source, I don't remember if I had. I think I did not. I think I used 5-second arc. I think that's what I used to make sure that we only heard the bzzz. Oh yeah, every 5 seconds. We did. And I had the duration set to 5 seconds. That's right, I remember now. All right, so we're going to have our 5-second arc. And once again, we want to make sure that it is a 3D sound. So we're going to move our spatial blend all the way across. Let's turn our, once again, down to 20. And let's leave our sound that high. So let's see if we hear more arcing when it comes through. I think I like that. I'm going to leave that sound a little higher. Oh, it didn't make a sound there. Because I do not have it set up to loop. Make sure if you add in a sound that is supposed to loop, you set up your sound to loop. Play. Perfect. All right, I like the way that looks, guys. That is basically all I wanted to create for this episode. A really simple environmental effect that you can use pretty much anywhere. And by thinking of what you're trying to accomplish, particle systems in Unity are so powerful. They're so powerful, they add so much to your game. I really, really recommend that you guys go through and build yourself some awesome particle systems, and they can very easily be set up to create environmental hazards or anything else as well. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let's move this electrical pulley out of the way for now because we don't really want to use it. Keep it here. If you want to, you could take the entire thing, go to your prefabs folder, drag and drop your electrical puddle into there, and you've got yourself a puddle that you can always use. I'm going to drag my electrical puddle over here for now. And what we're going to do, let's add it down here. So we'll add it. That's where it is in my game, right about there. We'll just add it for here for now. You won't be able to get across it, I guess. I'll add it here. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was fairly simplistic, and it was really just there for demonstration purposes. I really hope you guys are going to start moving ahead on your own environmental effects and that kind of thing now. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. If you have something you'd like to see personally, like I really like to see this, then let me know as well. I do have a Patreon site set up. I haven't really mentioned this before. I do have a Patreon site set up. There are a lot of people asking me to help me with their individual projects, create different things for them, or make a special episode for something that they're working on. I do have a Patreon set up, and like I said, I've never mentioned this before. One of the Patreon rewards is allowing you to do things like make suggestions for episodes. Depending on what level of Patreon you are, you might be able to decide what our next episode is going to be, or what a special episode that month is going to be. So if you had something special, like I'd really like to see bubbling lava or something like that, then if you are one of my patrons on Patreon, you might be able to decide what the episode is going to be. All right, guys. And like I said, I didn't mention it. I do not do this for profit at all. I do this to help my students in real life, my George Brown students in real life. So I'm not asking you to sign up for Patreon or anything like that. I just want to let everyone know that I really don't have time to help everybody with their individual projects and to help you guys more thoroughly than to make a few suggestions in the comments itself. I love to hear your comments, and I will try my best to help you given what limited information I can get over that. But if you're really looking for more help than that, you're looking for help with your individual projects, or you're looking for something very specific for me to help you with, I really recommend that you take a look at the Patreon page, and from there you'll be able to either make suggestions on episodes or get personal help. All right, guys. Not telling you have to sign up. I'm going to always release all of this stuff for free. I'm not in any way asking for money, okay? Just so there's no confusion. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, let me know with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Comments down below are always appreciated. I love to hear from you guys. I love to see what you've done and what you are doing. All right, guys? Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanis. In the last episode, we took care of an environmental effect. We took care of an environmental effect where we did some kind of electrified puddle or something like that. There's a lot of things you can do with particles, guys, and I really recommend that you go through and explore them, make yourself some awesome environmental effects, and you will have yourself a decent-looking game. In today's episode, we're going to go back to a little bit of procedural animation. We're going to take a look at the physics engine in Unity, particularly the 3D physics engine. The 2D and the 3D physics engine are completely separate. Meaning that if you create 3D objects, it will not work with the 2D physics engine, and a 2D object will not work with the 3D physics engine. So, in today's episode, guys, we're going to take a look, I think, at least one of the joints. We're going to make ourselves a trapdoor here. We're going to discuss the other joints as well, but I think we're going to make ourselves a trapdoor, and then you can go on from there and build yourself some awesome stuff. All right, let's get started. Alright, guys, so as I mentioned today, we are going to be taking a look at the 3D physics engine. The 2D and 3D physics engines are completely separate items, meaning that if you have 2D and 3D assets mixed within the same game, you're going to require the use of both engines. You don't have to do anything special. The appropriate assets will automatically work with the appropriate engine, but you'll have to keep that in mind. If you build yourself a collider, if you build yourself a 3D game, and you build yourself a 2D collider, nothing's going to work, for example. Alright, so keep that in mind. Anyway, in today's episode, what we're going to do, I'm going to scroll across here. Woo! What we're going to do is we're going to build ourselves a trapdoor that is going to go directly across here. It's going to allow our player to jump on it. It's going to fall down. The player is going to have to run up it, or they're going to have to, if it zooms up fast enough, they're going to have to get on the elevator, ride it back up, and then jump on, and so on. That's our plan. It works exactly like the sample game. If you take a look at the sample game that I made, we've got one of these in place in this location. We also have over our electrical trap right about here, we had a swinging platform, and that swinging platform it uses exactly the same concept as our trap door. It uses a hinge joint, which you're going to understand in a little bit. I'm not going to show you how to make that the swinging platform. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. All right. Once you've completed this work on the trapdoor, you should be able to go through and apply the same concept to the actual swinging platform. So let's take a look. First of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say game object. I'm going to create a 3D object. I'll just create a cube. And guys, really, don't do this. I'm creating this cube for demonstration purposes. If you have plans to actually make a game and you have yourself an aesthetic already designed and you've got yourself some nice textures, make sure you go through. Don't be lazy like me. Go through and model this guy up nice. All right, let's just scale this so it fits the area. Let me see. Is that too long? Let's make it 11. Let's make it 11. Check that out. All right, and let's skinny this guy up, right, like that, and let's make it wide in the Z so it fills our area nicely. We only need a skinny area, right, like that our player can run across, but let's make it fill the area so we don't get any weird shadows or anything below. That's obviously too wide. Let's try 6. I'm taking my time, even though I'm making a little crappy object, still taking my time. All right, mixed signals, I guess. Okay, so I'm just going to move this into place. That's good enough. Whatever. I just want to kind of avoid, when you got a light source in place, if you don't have this thing aligned appropriately, then of course you're going to get shadows that are being cast on the wall weird and that kind of thing, and I don't want that. All right, let's just align it. That's probably good enough. All right, so a quick review. Hopefully our thing can make it up there. We'll check it later. If not, I'll skinny it. Anyway. A quick review, when I created this cube, which I won't call cube, obviously, let's call it trap door. When I created this cube, first of all, I want the player to be able to run on it, so right away I'm going to go ahead and change my layer to the ground layer so our character can actually jump on top of it. Great, he can now jump. It's only got a handful of things associated with it right now. It's got a transform node, all game objects will. It's got a cube, or mesh filter. The mesh filter itself is the mesh. The box collider is obviously a collider, and it's appropriately sized because we built it around an existing cube with a mesh filter. We've got ourselves a mesh renderer which shows everything up, and our default material. Now that's all we've got on here. If we go down, we say add component, boom, and we say physics, we can scroll down and we can see we've got a number of joints available. 3 basic joints: hinge joint, fixed joint, and spring joint. In all honesty, I've never used the character joint or the configurable joint. I'm sure they're super awesome. They probably solve half the problems I have in the world, but I don't know what they do. I really should look it up. Anyway, but the basic joints, the hinge joint, fixed joint, and spring joint, we'll take a look at those very briefly today. The fixed joint is the most basic of the 3. So watch what happens. When I hit fixed joint, boom, automatically what happened is I got myself a rigid body now associated with this object. It was automatically added. All 3 of the joints require that a rigid body is associated with the asset that you've created in order to have this joint in place. If you don't have one, it'll automatically be added for you. If you have one already, then it won't bother. Like, you won't end up with 2 of them or anything like that. But if you don't have one, it's automatically going to be added for you. Now, the fixed joint is the simplest of the joints. Basically, what we've got here is we've got a connected body. So another rigid body that this is connected to. And by connecting these 2 objects together, it's basically like parenting. So basically, I've kind of parented them together. But it's a little bit more, it's got a little bit more options. Obviously, and it's a little bit more processor heavy because it's being acted upon by physics and forces. But you can use the fixed joint to parent things together, make them stick together. And the good thing about it is by adding a break force. Now, right now it's set to infinity, so it won't actually break. But by adding an appropriately sized break force, you can tear apart these objects. So basically, with whatever the fixed joint is connected to, connecting the 2 things together, you can tear off one of them. All right, you can tear off the one that's got the fixed joint associated with it. and it'll cause it to break off and fall under its own free gravity, whatever. Either by a brake force or a brake torque. So depending on what you want to use it for, you can go through and add an appropriate number in there, apply that force, and cause it to snap. So I don't know, you might want to use this if you were creating let's say you wanted to have a wagon wheel. Let's say you had a game and you had a wagon wheel and the wagon wheel's driving along, it hits a bump and you want it to fly off. Boom! You could add a brake force to it and it would cause the wagon wheel to fall off the wagon. Alright, so just an example. Now I'm going to delete this. We're not going to actually use a fixed joint. I'm going to delete it, remove component. The rigid body, when I remove the component, the rigid body is a completely separate object, so it stayed in place. Alright, it stayed there. It did not delete the rigid body. So if ultimately you say, oh shoot, I didn't want that there, and you remove the fixed joint or any joint, and you didn't want the rigid body, you have to go back and remove that as well. Alright, let's go back and add a component now, and I'm going to add a physics, and I will add the spring joint. And once again, no additional rigid body was created. I'm using the one that's already existing. The spring joint works similarly to the fixed joint, in that you can attach two things together by having a connected body. But the difference as well is the spring joint does what it can to spring back to its original position, or towards the connected anchor point anyway, or the anchor point. And the connected anchor and the anchor. So the anchor is where it's anchored to, and the connected anchor is where it's the thing it's anchored to, and the connected anchor is where it's anchored in the actual asset itself. Using this object will allow, basically what happens is when we hit play, here, let me just do it, let me hit play. Well, first of all, let me show you this. The connected anchor and anchor are right there. Let me just turn this off so you can see. It'll look up like a little orange cube right there. Now basically, watch what happens when I hit play. Maximize on play is off, good. When I hit play, boom. What's going to happen is the object itself is doing what it can to move back towards its anchored point. And you can see it's being affected by physics right now. So it's bobbing up and down, bobbing up and down. Now obviously, depending on what you change the spring to, you will have more or less bob. Depending on what your damper is, it'll slow down at a faster and faster rate. But by having the character jump onto this, let's see if I can get him over there. Let's see if I can get over there. Let me grab this. Whee! Sorry, the noises are probably... Oh, I clicked on the wrong spot. Probably quite loud. Whee! Alright, I gotta remember my electrical trap. Oh, I hurt. Alright, so if I jump on there, bam. Alright, well, it's it's not balanced. It's not balanced. Like unless you go through and you freeze you freeze your stuff, it's not gonna actually stay balanced. So right now it's just swinging wherever it wants. But anyway, you can see how my character was able to interact with it, and it's still doing its best to try and doing its best to try and move back towards this point right here. That's what the spring joint does. Let me stop that, and we'll go get rid of this now. Well, let's take a quick look at it. So basically, the anchor point, as I mentioned, the anchor point and the connected anchor point can be adjusted to allow you to have this thing swing from a different location or move in a different manner. The spring itself is how springy, how much spring this object has, how much it'll bounce, basically. How hard it'll try and get back up to the original position. Well, I think it's a force. I'm not sure if it's a K coefficient of a spring. It might be. I don't know. The guys at Unity are obviously geniuses and code things to be realistic. Damper is how quickly it'll slow down. And once again, this thing here has a brake force and a brake torque. So by applying an appropriate amount of force or appropriate amount of torque, you can snap this joint off. All right. So if you had this thing a platform, you wanted to to bounce up and down, and if your character's too heavy or whatever, he can tear the entire thing off. All right. So yeah, that's the spring joint. It's interesting, but it's not exactly what we want to use. You could decide to use that. You could use it over here, over top of your platform. Go ahead and use that if you want to. You don't have to use exactly what I'm doing. You guys can go through and create your own game, obviously. I'm just demonstrating this stuff. So let's dump this. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to... Oh, and once again, like I said, yeah, it's got a little orange spot there that you can see the connected and the anchored joints. And you saw them when I hit play. You can see that they separate. You can see that there's one up there and one down there. All right, let me stop that, and let's dump our spring joint. Remove component. Now, the last one we're going to take a look at is the hinge joint, and this is the one that we used to make. This is one we're actually going to use to create our object. I'm going to go to physics, and I'm going to add my hinge joint. Now, this one looks different. As you can see, it's got a little arrow. All right, and that little arrow is the actual hinge joint itself. And it's basically showing you the axis of pivot. So once again, we've got ourselves an anchor, so whatever we're connected to. All right. After that, we've got ourselves an axis, and the axis is the direction that it's going to spin. In our case, we want it to rotate right around this axis, around this location, around this axis in this direction. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my anchor back. Let's move it back in the, not too far, somewhere right, it doesn't really matter, somewhere right about there. You want it as close to the edge as you can get it so that it's going to, I'll put it at 0, at 1, so it's up top. You want it to be as close to the edge, and I'll rotate it and show you. The axis right now is pointing directly along the X direction, so if I hit play right now, it's not going to actually do anything because there's nothing on it, but watch what happens. So if I run back there, maybe I should just move my guy. I'm being really lazy today. Alright, jump. Let's run across. And, I can't move off the axes. If I, can I move off the axes enough? There. That's basically what it's doing. You can see that the hinge joint now is allowing this thing to rotate about that particular axis. And obviously that's not what we want to do. I mean, that makes an awesome trap, right? Like, that's an awesome trap. Let's see if our elevator works now. Can I get past it? Good, I can. It makes an awesome trap. Whee! But right now, it's not going to work the way I want it to work. All right, so that's a pretty cool way to make a trap door. Anyway, we're going to use that similar concept, and instead of having it rotate around the x-axis, I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to have it the axis it rotates around as the, and you could have some combination of the two. So right now I can use x and y, x and z, but I'm going to have it just rotate around the z axis by itself. And let's move this anchor back a little bit now. Move this anchor back. Interesting. I've never seen it do double like that before. I don't know if that's a graphical error. Let me check that. I don't know if that's okay, it was just a graphical error. That's cool. Yeah, they had two arrows there for a second, and it was probably because I'm recording. Anyway, so yeah, so right now I've aligned this thing here with the edge of my object. And you know what, maybe I'm going to make this go, put it 0 in the Y. And I'm assuming it moved. I don't like it when, let's put it at 0.5. I don't like it when my graphics don't work like this. Anyway, my graphics don't seem to be working. Anyway, we're going to put it at 0 in the Y. And when I play now, let's see if it moves. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it moves. It sprung down. So it's now rotating around the bottom edge, and that's cool. All right, so you can see how when I hit play, right now it just simply rotates down. All right, it simply rotates down. It's falling under the force of gravity. It is connected at this location. But if we scroll down and look at our actual hinge joint, we can apply, once again, a brake force or a brake torque to break that actual joint and have this floor, for example, snap off. If you wanted to do something like that, you have to apply the appropriate force. Let's stop it. So yeah, you can see how it automatically moved through around the axes and fell into place. If we take a look, there are a bunch of different options. This is the most complicated of the three basic joints. The spring joint, the hinge joint allows you to have a spring. So if you use spring, once again, it'll try and bob back and forth. Let's see if I actually put this at, let's say, I don't know, 10. Let's see what happens. And give it a damper of 0.5. I don't know. Those are just numbers I'm making up. It might not do anything at all. But anyway, you can turn on the use spring. It didn't really do anything. Well, you have to go through and play with the numbers to see. You can use spring and then and then change these values here in order to have it act like a spring joint where it's trying to spring back to its original position. Let me stop it. I don't actually want to use this for now. 0 and 0. Below that is something called the motor. And the motor will allow you to have the object attempt to move in a particular direction. If I say use motor right now, and I hit play, nothing's going to happen. It's actually applying a velocity of 0 with a force of 0. So it's not actually trying to move upwards in any particular manner. If, however, I give this thing a targeted velocity of, let's say, I don't know, depending on how fast you want it to return to its position, let's say I give it a target velocity of 20, and these are just numbers I'm making up, and a force of 200. When I hit play now, boom, the object has started to move up. All right, so you can see that it's attempting to. Let me decrease my target velocity a little bit, or my force. Let's decrease my target velocity to, let's make it higher first of all. So let's say 200. And I'm going to play, and you can see it's going to spring up relatively quickly. All right, and it's got a little bit of bounce to it. I'm going to decrease this to 20, And right now, I don't want my object to be able to go past the floor. Right now, if I hit play, like I was doing before, the object is being forced up until it collides. It's colliding with another collider. It's saying I can't go any further. So my collider is what's actually holding it from spinning all the way around. If I didn't have a collider on this object over here, it would spin all the way around, like a motor. That's basically what it is, a motor. It would keep spinning around this axis. And I don't want it to do that, right? I want it to stop at the floor level. So directly underneath use motor is the limits. If I say use limits, and I give it I don't remember if it's a minimum or maximum. Let's check and see. Let's say I give it a minimum of, let's try. I don't know if it's minimum or maximum. I can't remember now. If I say 100, play. All right, so the minimum it can go to is, it's 10 and 100 right now, max is 100. The minimum it can go to is 10, and I don't want that. Zero this thing out. The minimum I want to be able to go to is 0. Let's see if I do play now. All right, so right now, with this in place, I have a minimum rotation of 0 and a maximum rotation of 100. And you can see that my object is not moving. It's really stuck in place there. Now, watch what happens if I bring my dude over. I don't know why I keep shooting that. I can just ignore it if I wanted. Alright, so let's jump over there. Now, watch what happens if I run in there. Jump over my electrical. And I jump on top of this. Bam! My thing is automatically... Oh, I shouldn't jump back on. It's automatically falling, and it's automatically moving back up. Get out of the way! Elevator almost squished me. It's automatically moving back into position. Now, that's what it's designed to do. The target velocity is telling it how fast it should move back into position. So if you wanted to set it up so that your character might miss his opportunity to do this, then you can increase your target velocity. The force is how much force is being applied. So if I make it like a force of like 10,000, when my character jumps on it, it's not going to be enough to actually cause it to fall down. All right, that's it. And once again, the hinge joint works exactly the same way as our other joints. By applying an appropriate amount of brake force or brake torque, we can cause the entire thing to tear off. All right, guys, so that is it. That's basically how you create yourself a trapdoor. Now, you should be able to use the same concept to create yourself the swinging platform. Move your hinge somewhere well up above it and allow it to swing back and forth. All right, guys, that's your assignment. Go ahead, give it a try. If you're going to add a trapdoor, don't do the cube thing. Do it nice and do it neat. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, let me know down in the comments. Let me know with a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't. If you give me a thumbs down, let me know why. If you want me to make changes to what I'm doing, then you have to tell me what went wrong and what you didn't like, and I will go through and make the appropriate changes. All right, guys, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello everyone, and welcome to this, another episode of 3D prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode, we took a look, or a closer look anyway, at the physics engine. We kind of concentrated on the hinge joint and built ourselves a trapdoor. Now, we took a look at the 3 basic joints that are available with the Unity 3D physics engine, but we really focused on the hinge joint, and I asked you guys to go through and build yourself something else besides a trapdoor. So hopefully you went through and practiced using it. Great! In this episode, well, in the next few episodes anyway, what we're going to do is start taking a look at a really basic inventory system. And we're not going to actually build ourselves like a graphical inventory system. What we are going to do is have a number of weapons that we're going to allow ourselves to switch into based on a single keystroke. And we're going to add some animation to the GUI and that kind of thing to indicate our switch. This is going to take I think at least 2 episodes. In the first one, we're going to take it really easy. In the first episode, this one, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at building an additional weapon and placing it properly in the character's hand. And once that's in place and everything is set up, we'll go through and we'll build ourselves the basic inventory manager on the character and allow us to switch between those 2 weapons. In today's episode, like I said, we're going to build ourselves a flamethrower. That's what we're going to build. So we'll have a machine gun and a flamethrower. And we'll see just how easy it is to build ourselves a new weapon with this kind of plug-and-play system I've got set up. All right, let's get started. Okay, guys, so we're keeping things simple in this first episode. All we're looking at is how quickly we can build a brand new weapon using simply the items that we've already created up until now. We've really we've really built some plug-and-play items here that are going to allow us to very quickly make any kind of weapon we want. We already have a fireball. If we take a look at our prefabs, we've already created a fireball projectile, and we're going to use that fireball projectile to make ourselves a flamethrower. But this technique that I'm going to show you right now can very easily be used to make a rocket launcher or any other kind of projectile weapon that you want to make. You know, a crossbow, anything you want to make. It's going to be completely up to you. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and take a look in my models, first of all. And we've got ourselves, in models, I've given you guys a flamethrower. And I'm just going to drag it and drop it on the screen for now. That's it. That's our flamethrower right there. It's a simple model. All right? That's all it is a graphic. Okay? And that's all our LMG was as well. Our LMG consisted of, if we take a look, it's in our character's hands, the assault rifle, which was the top layer that we kind of used to place the weapon within the hierarchy of our character. And the LMG node, which was a little bit more information about the mesh and that kind of stuff. That's all it was. And underneath that was something called the gun muzzle. And the gun muzzle is really what defined how this weapon worked. All right, it's got everything about how fast it can fire, what it can fire, etc. And also all of our information about sounds and melee. Now we're going to make some adjustments to this script in the next episode. But for now, it's all we really need to make ourselves a brand new weapon. Let's go into the flamethrower itself right now. And let's resize it. So I'm just going to set this thing to 0. Let's just reset it so it's at the origin. And I'm going to set my scale to decimal 01 and decimal 01 and decimal 01. All right, I know that's the size I need to make it. It's modeled exactly the same as my LMG, and that's the size of my LMG from before. So let me just focus on it. And there it is. All right, so there's my resized weapon, and that's great. Right now, it's the way I like it. I'm not going to bother changing anything. The rotation of the actual weapon, so it's looking the right way. Everything looks fine right here. I am not going to change anything. No, I'm going to leave it exactly as it is. All right. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my prefabs now, and I'm going to find myself my gun muzzle. It's right here. And I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it on my flamethrower on the top layer. And what that does is it gives me all the information about this weapon. I'm going to change its name right away to, instead of gun muzzle, let's call it a flame muzzle, just so we don't get confused later on when we're actually going through and trying to make adjustments to one or the other. It's got the fire bullet script, which is in charge of actually firing a projectile. So let's take a look at that right now. Right now, it will fire once every 1/15 or 0.15 seconds. I don't want that. This thing's going to fire much slower. Let's have it fire once a second, let's say. The projectile. Now, this is what the projectile itself defines how much damage and everything else it does. It takes care of all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to go to my prefabs, find my fireball, and drag it and drop it in there. So now my weapon is firing a fireball instead. My player ammo slider, well, that's the same. I'm going to look down into my player canvas right here. I'm going to find my ammo slider, which is right here. I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop that right in my ammo slider location. Perfect. The number of rounds that we can have, the maximum number, this is a flamethrower. It does damage every round. Let's give it only 10 rounds, all right? And starting rounds, let's give it the full 10. When you pick it up, you get the whole thing. Our sound, let's go take a look in our audio. Right here, flamethrower. This is what? Flamethrower flame. Okay, so let's go into this. This is going to be our actual sound, so flame muzzle. Our shooting sound is going to be flamethrower. And our reload sound is going to be this flamethrower reload then. Perfect. All right, so right now this weapon is going to shoot differently. It's going to do different damage. It's going to fire different projectiles. It's going to do everything a little bit differently. Let's go into the melee as well. Let's make this thing here hit a lot harder. It's going to do, I don't know, 25 damage. You know, it's a really heavy, strong weapon. The knockback radius will be the same, but we can only swing it once every second, so it's much slower to swing. So just by doing those few little tiny things, we've created ourselves a brand new weapon. The flamethrower itself, I'm going to go up to the top right now, and I'm going to drag this into our prefabs, so we've got ourselves a flamethrower. Bam! All right, there's our flamethrower. Now, I'm going to grab this flamethrower, and I'm going to drag the entire thing down into my soldier's hands. Let's go down here into our, oops, I'm scrolling back and forth, into our right hand, and we're going to drop it off. It should appear just below the assault rifle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero this out first of all, so it's at 0, 0, 0. So it's in the proper location right now. All right, that looks pretty darn good. It's in the proper location as far as the hierarchy is concerned. I'm going to use the next layer down, the flame thrower layer, to ensure that this is in the proper location in the player's grip. I'm just going to turn off my assault rifle by clicking off this little check mark right here to allow me to be able to see this and only this for now. So I'm just going to drag this. Oops, I'm wrong level, wrong layer. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, which layer you pick. I just like to keep them separate. All right, I'm going to drag it like that. I'm going to drag it up a little bit, drag it forward a little bit, drag it this way a little bit. There, that's probably pretty good. You know what? I had not set up my flame muzzle yet, so let's go into our flame muzzle and make sure this is also located directly in front of our weapon, so we are firing everything from the proper location. That looks pretty darn good. My projectile, let me just make sure that my flame projectile, I'm going to make sure this is positioned at 000 for my flame oops, I was in the wrong thing. For my flame projectile, sorry, I'm going to make sure this is at 000, so I'm not creating it somewhere where I'm not supposed to. Make sure my fireball is at 000, my smoke, good, everything like that's perfect. Now, just by doing that, and I've turned off my assault rifle, so now the only thing that's active on here is my flamethrower. All of the things underneath this inactive, this is turned off. If I turn it on, you can see it comes back. Everything that's inactive will no longer be used. So if I pull my trigger now, let me just hit play and show you. Boom. When I pull the trigger now, I'm going to get a fireball that comes pouring out instead. Let's go here, grab our health, fire at this guy here. Our on fire script is still working. Our dude burns and he dies. Grab my health, and let me fire a couple more. Now, it's firing pretty quickly here. Not too fast. I'm going to go over here and grab my ammo just to make sure my ammo is working. Boom! It does. Now, I don't know if that's the right sound. Maybe it was. I can't remember. I can't remember what sound I chose. But anyway, guys, you can see how quickly we went through and created a brand new weapon. We didn't have to do anything else. All we had to do is turn off the weapon that was already in our hand. And by doing so, only the information on this one is taking place. If, for some reason, I had them both on, watch what happens. I'm going to turn the assault rifle on as well as the flamethrower. So right now, if I take a look inside here, can't really see well, we kind of can. Both weapons are turned on right now. So we've got ourselves a machine gun, a light machine gun, and a flamethrower on at the same time. If I hit play right now, and I pull the trigger, watch what happens. Let me kill this guy really fast. Pull the trigger. I'm getting both weapons going off at exactly the same time. Alright? And that's because both scripts are active. Both the script that allows the flamethrower to work, as well as the script that allows the actual bullet to fire. I'm not sure what's going to happen here if I pick up this ammo. Let's see if I think it's only going to give me ammo for the one, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure in the situation. Later on, we're going to write code, guys, that is going to allow us to either have one weapon or the other one on. Alright, so for now, I'm going to make sure that I've applied this, so it's got all the information on my prefab, everything is set up appropriately now, and for now, I'm just going to turn off my flamethrower, so we're back to our original assault rifle. Okay, and that's it, guys. That's how fast you can make a brand new weapon. This same technique can be used to make yourself a rocket launcher, or a crossbow, or anything like that. Go in, add your model, add your new projectile that you wanted to the gun muzzle, like add your gun muzzle, then change the information about the projectile, and that's it. You've got yourself brand new weapons that quickly. This is really a plug and play kind of thing. That's how I've created it. Everything is based on the idea of the gun muzzle, and the gun muzzle creates a projectile that is an entirely separate prefab. Alright, guys? I hope you enjoyed that episode. We're going to call it off right there. I don't want to have this go on too long. In the next episode, we're going to take a look at the code to make the inventory itself switch back and forth. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below with a thumbs up and a comment if you did enjoy it, and if you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Alright, guys, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode, we built ourselves a flamethrower, and we did so with existing materials, with existing prefabs. That's how the game has been set up, so we can very quickly create brand new weapons, any type of projectile weapon that you want, simply by changing out a handful of values. All right, the actual model or the image itself is strictly that, nothing more. It's just something that looks different. All right, all of the work is done in something that's called the gun muzzle, and we make some changes within there, and boom, we've got ourselves a brand new weapon. So hopefully you guys will go through and make yourself a bunch of different weapons. In today's episode, what we're going to take a look at is actually creating the inventory system and making the graphical changes that are going to allow us to be able to see that we've got a brand new weapon in place. All right, guys, let's get started. Okay, guys, so our weapons are all set up. We've got ourselves two weapons right now, our assault rifle and our flamethrower. You may have additional weapons, and it doesn't really matter, because what we're doing today is going to allow you to switch between any number of weapons you really want to switch between. I'm going to keep it to two, flamethrower and assault rifle as demonstration. We're going to need to make a few changes to code, and that's what this whole episode is really going to be about, the code involved in creating our weapon switching. This might be a little bit of a longer episode. The last one was short, so you got lucky there. This one's going to be a little bit longer, I'm afraid. All right? So first thing I want you to do is go in and find your gun muzzle on your assault rifle or wherever. It doesn't really matter which one you pick on whatever weapon. And we've got a number of different currently existing scripts within here. We've got our fire bullet script and our melee script, and the melee script is really just in charge of the melee damage we do, so we're not going to do anything to that one. We are going to make some changes to our fire bullet script, and our fire bullet script is where everything, well, let's just open it. Double click on it to open it up. There it is. Hopefully this is zoomed in enough. Let's try view. Let's just zoom in. That should be plenty close enough. All right, it's zoomed way in. It's already the right color. Our fire bullet script was really in charge of a lot of different things. It tracked the player ammo. It tracked how much damage it does, how fast it fires, what it fires. It tracks everything like that, the sounds it makes, everything like that are all within here. So we're going to make a few changes within this script itself. I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go just below in the area where I'm still making my initial declarations. I'm going to go in and I'm going to put some graphic info in here. And basically what we want to do is we want to give our player a heads up they've switched weapons or something's changed within the game itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of things in here. We're going to add a public sprite that I'm going to call, I don't know, weapon sprite. Weapon sprite is what I'm going to call it. And basically this is going to be the actual image that represents our weapon. If we go back over here for a second, well, I'm grabbing my mouse. This mouse over here. If we go in here for a second, I scroll back so we can see our GUI. This is the image. This is the actual sprite that I used to demonstrate that we had the assault rifle, and I have something different for the flamethrower. All right, and this sprite is located within an image on my GUI, on my graphical user interface. Let's go back to our player here. All right, let's zoom in. All right, so let's go back to our code. That weapon sprite is just strictly the actual sprite that shows which weapon we've got. I'm going to add a public image that I'm going to call weapon image. Weapon image. All right, and the weapon image is the location on the GUI where we're holding our sprite. That's all that's going to be, okay? And I don't really need anything else for now that I don't think I do. Maybe later I will. Go down to the very bottom and let's add ourselves a new public void function that we're going to call initialize weapon. And when the player is first allowed to use this weapon, we're going to run this simple function. All right, and I put in my brackets to make sure we've got everything in place. All right, maybe I'll make this one bigger just in case. I know some guys are having a hard time seeing it, so I'll make sure I zoom in a little bit more. All right, there we go. So our initial, maybe even one more. I know a lot of people are saying, I can't see your code. There, that's huge. Even my grandfather could read that. All right, there we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this function, and I'm going to basically set it up so when the player first uses this weapon, it does certain things to indicate and to set up the behavior of this weapon. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I think I called it did I call it? Yeah, gun muzzle AS. So gun muzzle AS is the audio source that we actually have for this weapon. And what I want to do is I'm going to set the gun muzzle AS clip equal to our reload sound. And I think we called it reload sound. Yeah, we did. Reload sound. Good. So right away, our clip is set to the reload sound, and I'm just going to play that clip. Gun muzzle AS dot play. And it's going to play that particular sound. So as soon as we pick up this weapon or switch to it, it's going to make the noise that whatever the gun muzzle reload sound is. Whatever the reload sound is, it's going to make that sound. So the player is going to hear audibly immediately that something has changed in the game itself. Great. The next thing I'm going to do is set up our next bullet to equal to 0 so that our player can fire this weapon immediately. This might allow us a roundabout way of switching back and forth and allow us to to reload faster. It kind of is. I'm not going to put in any error checking in or anything like that. If you guys want to, let me know. We can talk about it in another episode. I'm just not going to put it in for now. For now, whenever they switch to a weapon, they can fire it right away. And yeah, anyway. Not the best way of doing it, but I'm trying to do this quickly so you guys can see it at least. All right, so that's great. It can fire right away. I also want to set up my ammo count. What did I call it? I call it player ammo slider. I want to set up my player ammo slider to reflect the fact that we've got a new weapon, right? The LMG holds 100 rounds, and the flamethrower I set up, I think, to hold 10 rounds. So I want to make sure that it's reflected there. So my player ammo slider max value is going to be equal to our max rounds. Is that what we call it? Yeah, max rounds. So the maximum number of rounds that this given weapon can have. And I'm also going to set my player ammo slider dot value. And the value is going to be set equal to whatever our current, what did I call it? Did I not call it current rounds? Let's go back to the top and see. I can't remember. Bullet info, starting rounds. Next bullet, what did I call you? Remaining rounds, I called it. Remaining rounds. All right. It's going to be set equal to our remaining rounds. Remaining rounds. Okay, so if we only had, 4 shots left or whatever, then that's what it's equal to. The last thing I'm going to set is I'm going to set my weapon image dot sprite. So the actual sprite of the image is going to be set equal to our weapon sprite, and that way we're going to get a graphical indication immediately that we've switched weapons as well. So we've got an audio reload sound as well as a switch in the weapon. We're going to add some animation to it in a little bit as well. This is a public function, so which means we're going to allow something else is going to go through and trigger this initialized weapon. I mean, we can trigger it internally as well, but we're not going to. We've set it up as public so that something else can go through and trigger it. And that something else we'll create right now as well. So I'm just going to simply file, save this, and now we'll go in and we'll create the actual weapon inventory. With that saved, what we really want to do now, let's close this off for a second. What we really want to do now is go back to our character. Let's go back to, why am I... going on here? All right, there we go. Let's go back to our character, and on the top level of our soldier, on the top level of our player, what I'm going to add is I'm going to add a brand new script. We don't really need any of this stuff right now, so I'm going to close all this stuff off for now. We don't need animator. We don't need our audio source. We don't need any of this stuff right now. What I do want to add in here, I'm going to add a component, and I'm going to add a brand new script that I'm going to call inventory manager. All right, this is going to be our system for making sure that we have everything properly set up and that we are actually switching properly. I'm going to double click that to open it up. Boom, boom. And when I do, bam, I'm going to get a graphical error, so I'm going to switch out for a second. I'm going to go back to it, back to you. All right, there we go. And basically what I want to do now is go in here and create the information that's going to allow us to switch through our different weapons. So to start off with here, we have to say immediately using Unity engine .ui. So we have full access to our UI elements. Great. Right here, right below this, basically what we want to do is we want to add a number of things. We want to add a public array of game objects. That's an array that we're going to call weapons. All right, great. And we're going to add an array of bools that we're going to call weapon available. And basically, our list of weapons are going to be what's in our hand. And for each one, we're going to have a true or false, whether or not it's currently available. For now, we're going to have them all set to available. Later on, in another episode, we'll set up a pickup that will allow you to pick up new weapons. I'm sure you guys want to do that, so we'll add that on as an additional video a little bit later on. Okay, and we're going to add in here a public image that we're going to call weapon image with a small m, weapon image. And basically that's the thing we took a look at before. It's the image of the weapon itself on the GUI so you can see what you've got going on. I'm going to add an int that I'm going to call current weapon. Alright, and that's all we're going to add for now. We'll come back and we'll add in some animators and stuff later on, but for now, that's all we're going to add. We're going to start off in our start function, and boom, boom. And what I'm going to add, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say my weapon, I'm going to set my weapon available size of that array. So the weapon available is going to be equal to a new array of bools that's the same size as the public weapons dot length. Alright, so that way they're exactly the same size. That's all we've done there is set up those two arrays so they're the exact same size. Now, what I'm going to do is to start off with, I'm going to turn all of my weapon availables to be false. So none of my weapons are going to be available, and I'm only going to turn on the ones that I want to be available to start off with. Alright, so int I is equal to 0, and we're going to go for I is going to be less than weapons. Oh God. Weapons.length. I'm having a really hard time typing today. It's obviously time for a little break. Weapons.length, and we're going to go through and increment one at a time. And all we're going to do is set our weapon available I equal to false. So basically we're just saying, to start off with, none of our weapons are available. Now we're going to change that right away. We're going to set our current active weapon. This is just to initialize it, equal to 0. And 0 is going to be where our LMG is located. So we're going to start off with our LMG available. And what we're going to do basically then is say that our weapon available for our current weapon is going to be true. So all we've done is turned back on one weapon. And you know what? For now, I'm going to remove this. Let me remove this for now. Let me say, I'm just going to remove it right here. Bang, bang. Later on, when we go through and we actually create a pickup for each weapon, we'll be able to do this. For now, what I'm going to do, and this is going to seem a little bit redundant, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it right here. Paste. And for now, I'm just going to turn every weapon back to true. So, for test purposes, for right now, all of our weapons that we have are going to be available. I've only got 2, but I'm setting this up so you could have as many as you actually wanted. And let me just save this. File save. Later on, we're going to come and we're going to remove this and put this line back, and that's going to allow us to start off with only a single weapon on at the time. All right, and I want to do a couple of things here. So right now, if we take a look, we go back here and take a look. We take a look at our assault rifle. It is currently active, and our flamethrower is deactive. The active state is false, and that makes it invisible. And with this one here, if I set it to false, then it becomes invisible as well. So only the things with an active state of true are going to be visible. What I want to do in code is basically that same thing. I want to start off, and I want to deactivate all my weapons so that all of the weapons are off to begin with, and only turn on the one that I currently want available. And to do that, I'm going to have to create a function. Let me go down here and create it. I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to call it, it's going to be a void, and I'm going to call it deactivate, deactivate weapons. That's what I'll call it, deactivate weapons. It's not going to take any variables, and it's going to just simply be this. And it's simply going to be a single line of code. All we want to do is set the active state of each of these things to inactive. All right. So I'm going to grab this 4 again because this is how long we want it to go. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it right here. All right. And basically, we want to go through each of our weapons. So I. And we're going to set the active state to false. That's all we're going to do. So all this does is go and make everything invisible. All right, and later on we are going to need a void. Later on we're going to have something set up so that we can go through and activate an individual weapon to make sure that an individual weapon becomes available through a pickup. So I'm going to add that right now. I'm going to have a public void, and that's going to allow a pickup to actually make the change. And I'm going to call this one here activate weapon. And all this is going to do, it's going to take one thing. I'm going to call it an int called which weapon. And I'll put it in my braces. And all this thing is going to do is turn the bool to true to make the weapon available. That's all it's going to do. So weapon available. Which weapon? Close that off. Is equal to true. That's all I'm going to do. All right, is turn this weapon on. We're not going to even use this right now. This is for later on, but I might as well put it in now. File and save this. We're going to need to. So let's go to the top again. Let's go back to our actual our start function, and let's deactivate all our weapons. So all of our weapons are deactivated. Deactivate weapons. Boom, boom. All right, and what I want to happen after I deactivate it is I want to want to actually set whatever weapon I currently have available back on. All right, so I'm gonna create a brand new public function. I'll create another update right here, and this is going to be a public void function, and basically all it's going to do is make sure that whatever weapon I've got set up is set up properly. All right, so I'm going to call this set weapon active, and it's going to take an integer int, and once again I'll just call it which weapon. So it's going to be our active weapon. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so in set active, all I'm going to say is if the weapon is not available, then get out of here. All right, weapon available for which weapon? Oops, not. It's going to be square brackets. Which weapon? So if it's not true, then return. Get out of here. You can't do anything here. All right? Good. Let me just file, save that. Actually, I've saved this wrong. It should just be if not which weapon. There we go. That's the same thing. That's what I wanted to say. Not the other way, because the other way would not work. File, save. Boom. All right, let's say that again. All right, perfect. Now, what I want to happen next, so it's gone. If it's not the right one, then get out of here. All right, if we don't have this available to us as a weapon, then get out. We made a mistake. All right, deactivate all the weapons. We already have our deactivate. Deactivate all of our weapons. Boom. All right, and then we're only going to activate the one we want actually to activate. So we're going to say weapons. Which weapon? Dot set active. True. All right, so we're setting the one visible, and that way we can actually see it working. And the last thing we want to do is we want to go into our Firebolt script, which we already took a look at, into our Firebolt script, and we want to find our initialize weapon script. All right, and this is currently, so we're doing this right now on our soldier, and our soldier is going to try and find in our list. We've actually given it this weapon and this weapon here. We want to actually find the gun muzzle, and we want to try and find the initialized weapon on the gun muzzle. So to do so, we can't just simply go to the weapon because the weapon is the top level. Where was I typing this? Not in here at all. In here. So what we want to do is we want to go to our weapons, and like I said, weapons is actually our top layer. Which weapon? And we want to look for the component, get component in the children. The component, get component in children. So it's going to basically be looking for the fire bullet script somewhere down below, and it is down below. It's actually in the gun muzzle. So we're looking for our fire bullet script. And once we got it, we want to use the initialize weapon script. Perfect. All right, and that takes nothing. Boom, and let me file save that. All right, and later on, we're going to come in here and we're going to we're gonna actually set up this so that an animation plays, but we'll do that later on. The way this is looking, I'm going to have at least 2 more episodes of this silly short. inventory system. Anyway, so back up in our start. Now we can call our set weapon, set weapon active. And which weapon is it? It's going to be our current weapon. Alright, so now that we've called that, great, our current weapon is available to begin with. Now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set this up so that it's polling to see if the player has actually pressed any of the input buttons, or not any, the input button in particular that we are interested in. So toggle weapon is going to go here. Alright, and we're basically going to look and see if someone's pressed the button. So if input dot get, and we're not going to use our get access like we did before. We're going to use our get key. We're going to use our get button down. Get button down, and we're still going to use an access though. We're going to use our submit access. Where's my quotations? Oh my god, I definitely need to go have lunch because my brain is barely working. All right. We're definitely using our submit, and there's no semicolon after that. And there's not enough stuff here. Oh my god. All right, if I have no errors when I'm done typing this stuff, I'm going to be shocked. So we're going to basically be looking for our submit button and our submit axes. If you want to take a look at what that is again, if you don't remember, we can go back over here for a second. We can take a look at our edit. We can take a look at our projects, our project settings, our input, and you can scroll through this axes list to find submit, and submit is right here. It's our return value. So if we hit return, it's the same thing as submit. All right, so we're going to use our submit, and yeah. So if they've actually hit submit, we want to go through the weapons and turn on the next available weapon. It's not going to be. We can set it up so you can push a button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever. I'm going to set it up so that instead that if you hit your return, whenever you hit return, it's going to go through and look for the next weapon. So it's going to basically be like scrolling through. I think that's how the original Doom worked, if I remember correctly. Anyway, int I is going to be equal to just int I for now, and we're going to send int I equal to the appropriate thing here. So for I equals, and to start off with, we're going to start off by looking at our current active weapon. We're going to start looking there at our current active weapon plus 1. So whatever our current weapon is, take a look at the one after that. And we're going to go as long as I is less than our weapons dot length, the ones at length. So as long as we're less than that, we're going to keep going, and we're going to say I plus plus. All right, and we're going to go in here and do our for loopy thing. All right, boom, boom, boom. All right, so if the weapon's available, so if it's actually true, so if weapon available I is actually equal to true, equals true, then we can switch to this weapon. So let's go in here, boom, and what do we want to do? I want another one of these first of all, make sure I don't screw anything up. So if it's actually equal to true, we want to come in here. We want to set our current active weapon, our current, did I only call it current weapon? Have I been screwing this up the whole time? I did. Let's call it current active weapon, because I've been typing current active weapon, haven't I? Current. No, maybe I better not. See, that's what I'm doing, guys. I'm making a lot of mistakes here. Current weapon. I'm definitely going to have errors when this is done. Current weapon. Let's keep our fingers crossed at the place I put it. Current weapon is going to be equal to, our current weapon is going to be equal to I. Alright, so we've reset our current weapon equal to I. Then we want to set our weapon active to our current weapon. And lastly, we want to return. We want to get out of here. We found our next weapon. Let's get the heck out of here. Now, that's the end of our for loop, right? But what if we didn't find our weapon? What if we loop around and we haven't found it? It's behind us somewhere. So we're going to start over at 0. So for I equals 0. And we want to go to our current active weapon. I is less than our current weapon, not active weapon. Don't keep saying that, Kasanas. You keep saying the wrong words and you're typing the wrong thing. All right, our current weapon. And we're going to go up one at a time. Bang, bang, bang. And once again, we want to do exactly the same thing. We want to drag this. We're going to copy this whole thing. We want to return at the end. Copy, and boom. Paste. So once again, if our weapon's true, if it's available, take the first one that's available and set it equal to true. Set that to our current weapon. Set it equal to active, and get out of here. All right, and I think we are currently missing one of these guys. All right, file, save. Now, with that in place, that's all we should have to do. I know I'm going to have errors in here, so I'm going to file, like I said, file, save that, and I'm going to now see what happens when I run it. All right, let's give it a try. If everything is right, when I come in here, I shouldn't see any errors. Oh, I don't. I'm completely shocked at that. Now, let's go in and take a look at our actual character. So in our actual character, our actual soldier right now, we should have a number of different things. We should have our weapons list and our weapon image. So first of all, our weapon image is easy. Let's scroll down and find our canvas and find our player weapon image and drag that and drop it in there. So great, so far so good. Now I got to come up here, and I'm going to drag in each one of these weapons one at a time. So I'm going to grab my assault. I can shift select, but I'm going to say assault rifle, and I'm going to drag it and drop it in weapons. And when I look at it, I should have one assault rifle. I now can drag and drop my flamethrower, and when I add it, I should be able to have two. My first one, element 0, is my assault rifle, and that's how I've set it up. So I should automatically start with my assault rifle. All right. I also made changes to our gun muzzle. I don't think we have to change anything on here. Oh, yeah, we do. I didn't set this one up yet. We have our weapon sprite. I thought I changed this, but maybe I didn't. Our weapon sprite, I'm going to go down here, find our weapons oh, no, what am I saying? Our weapon image is the one down here. I obviously haven't changed this yet. Our weapon image, let's drag this and put that one in there. All right, and we have to do exactly the same thing for our muzzle, our flamethrower. Let's grab our image and put it in there, our player image, weapon image, and put it in there. Each of these sprites is a different sprite. I have them in my projects, in my sprites, no, I must call it textures, my textures folder. And let's see, so there's my flamethrower one, and let's just set that one up first. Let's go to our flamethrower, muzzle, and right here, I'm going to drag my flamethrower sprite, which I apparently can't do. How come I can't? Sprite. Oh, because it's not a sprite, it's a texture there. That's why. If you have the same problem, what you have to do, click on the actual image itself. It's currently, we're in a 3D project, so it's currently set up as a texture. Just simply change it to sprite. Go in here, say sprite 2D, all right, and apply. Bang, and it's going to apply appropriately. Now when I go to my muzzle, I can drag this and I can drop it in place. There's my flamethrower. Let's go to our assault rifle and find our assault rifle and drag it and drop it in place. Okay, file, I'm going to save this entire scene because I got my fingers crossed. And when I hit play, I should start off with my assault rifle. That's the only thing I see. Great, that's so far so good. Now when I hit my return, bam, I switch over into my flamethrower. And my flamethrower also works appropriately. Great. Oh, I pushed some other button. That made me, my jump is making me switch. So right now, my axes are not set up right. So it's working, but my axes are not set up right. I'm actually happy because I'm so tired. My code should not have worked at all. Let's go in here, file, and take a look at our, what am I saying, edit, and take a look at our project settings, our input, and find our submit. Submit. It's saying that submit has the option of the return button, but submit also has the option of our spacebar. Let's dump spacebar out here. We do not want an alternative. Only enter. All right, cool. File. Do I have to apply this? Do I have to apply it, or is it automatically set up? It automatically sets up. File. Save this again and play. Now, if I hit return, I am swapping back and forth. You can see that my currently, let me move over a little bit here. Ooh, I'm gonna die. We can see that currently I actually have, if I take a look at just down here in the GUI and I hit return, my GUI itself is swapping over. So now I can see I've got a flamethrower and I've got a full amount of ammo. If I switch back to my assault rifle, I have a full amount of ammo. I have only half amount of ammo, and it's actually upgraded appropriately. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to fire off a few rounds. That's perfect. Let's go over here and kill our dude off. Super powerful flamethrower. Dead. Grab the heart. Run back over here. Now you can see that currently I have a small amount missing. I've fired off a few shots from my flamethrower. If I switch back to my assault rifle and I pick up the bullets, gotcha, and I switch back to my flamethrower, my inventory is still showing the appropriate amount of ammo. This is working as it should as of right now. So guys, this has been a really long episode. I'm going to call it right now, and when we come back, we will be able to set it up so we're picking up the appropriate things and at appropriate times, and lastly, we're going to be able to set up our animation for our actual GUI. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I'm going to go take a break for a little while, so I'm not as tired, and I'm typing appropriately. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below with a thumbs up if you did. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. I'm hoping for thumbs up. To be honest, I'm hoping for that. So guys, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode, we were still working on our inventory system, and we were moving along with it pretty darn well. It's actually up and operating the way it should be. We can scroll through our weapons by using our Enter key, allowing us to choose whatever weapons we currently have available. In that episode, we set up everything so everything was available. In this episode, we're going to take a look at creating pickups to ensure that only certain ones are available at any given time. All right, let's get started. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do first of all is create ourselves our flamethrower pickup. And it's really easy to do. We've already done it. We've already done this before. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to find in my models, where's my models right here? Boom. In my accessories, I'm going to find myself the flamethrower right here. And I'm going to drop it off. There we go. All right, it's huge, just like they always are. It's huge. Let me set this to 0, reset it. So it's at the actual origin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name right away from, I'm going to change it to Flamethrower Pickup. Now, obviously, you're going to be able to follow this exact same technique for any weapon that you want to create. All right, it's not going to be difficult. Find yourself the object you want it to look like, and afterwards, you're going to go through and you're going to create yourself the proper pickup. Now, this top layer, which after I hit return, should change the name, there it goes, is just going to be a placeholder. So let me dump in here a purple bottom. It's just going to be a placeholder to make sure that we're on the ground. Okay, the next layer, this pixel flamethrower layer, contains all the information about the actual object. And all we're doing is making the same kind of pickup we made with our health and with our ammo pickup. So first of all, I'm going to scale this. I think the number was 0.13. I think so. Let's make this decimal 1.3, and lastly decimal 1.3. Let's see. Does that look appropriate? That doesn't look so bad. That looks about right. Maybe it's a little bit too small. We'll see. Now what I want to do is this layer here is actually where the animation is going to occur, and it's going to place this object appropriately off the ground. So what I'm going to do to start off with is drag this up so it's about at the same height as our heart. Right about there. That looks pretty darn good. Right there is exactly where I want it. Now, immediately, I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add an animator, because just like with our heart, we're going to have a little bit of animation. This is going to have a little bit of movement on it, so we can see it working. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say Create, and I'm going to create an animator controller right there. All right, and I'm going to call this Flame Thrower Pickup AC. I guess, you know what, it doesn't hurt to have really good names like that. Everyone knows what that is. Flamethrower Pickup AC. There it is. Now, I'm going to add that. I'm going to go back to my flame pickup, my flame over here. And in the controller, I'm going to drag, and I'm going to drop my controller in place. Great. Just like with the heart and the ammo, I'm going to add an animation. So let's go over to our animation screen right here. and I'm going to create a brand new animation, and I will call this Flame Pick Up Idle. Alright, we only have one animation on it. It's in record mode. This is nothing new for you guys. I'm going to add a property. I'm going to add a transform, and I'm simply going to add my position. And that position is located at 0 and at 1, and I think, and I don't remember, I think these were at, I think this was at 4. Is it at 4 or 2? You know what? It doesn't really matter for now. I'm going to drag it all the way over to 4 seconds. So we've got a 4-second loop. At 2 seconds, right here at 2 seconds, I'm going to add a little bit of animation, and all I'm going to do is make it go down. That's all we did with the heart as well. All right, so it's going to go up and down. That's all this thing is going to do, up and down. All right, and let's take a look at the curves themselves to make sure we've got nice curves. I'm going to grab this guy here, right-click, and say flatten. And I'm going to grab this guy here and say flatten, and that way we've got a nice smooth in and a nice smooth out. Perfect. That's perfectly fine. And I can now turn off my record mode. All right. With that done, my animation is in place. If I take a look at the animator, it's only got the one thing in here. It's going to stick in the idle and for all time. All right. It's going to loop on forever and ever, which is perfect. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to loop on. Let's just double check. Let me just double check right here. Where is it? Flamethrower, pickup, and it's looped. All right, automatically looped is the default state. Perfect. I'm going to go back to my scene now, and on my pickup flamethrower, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component right here, and I'm going to add a physics, and I'm going to add a box collider. It's probably perfectly fine. Where's my box collider? Why don't I see it? Why don't I see you, box collider? Did I have the wrong thing? Let's go back here a little bit. Well, let's double check and see how big it is, first of all. Make sure it's the right size. My box collider. There it is. I just had it shrunk down. No problem. Everything is cool. And it is the appropriate size. I'm going to make it into a trigger. All right? That way, whenever we walk into it, we can actually issue a code to make sure something's picked up. That said, now that it's trigger, I've got my animation in place. The last thing I need to do is go in here, add a component. I'm going to add a brand new script. Our new script, and I'm going to call this new script, I'll call it weapon pick up controller. Nice name. And I will double click it to open it up in Mono Develop. There it is. I love to see that graphical error. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Weapon pickup controller. And there's only a couple of things that really need to go in here. I'm going to come up top, and I'm going to add in right away a public. And this is going to be an int, and it's going to be called which weapon. And basically the way this works is if we go back and take a look at our character, if we go back and take a look at our soldier, and we take a look at our inventory manager, we have two weapons, the assault rifle and the flamethrower right now. It's going to have a value, assault rifle has a value of 0. So if you got a pickup for the assault rifle, it's a value 0. A pickup for the flamethrower, it's a value of 1. That's how it's going to work. All right, so let's go back here. This is obviously going to have a value of 1 once I set it up. I'm going to add in a public audio clip, perfect, that I'll call pickup clip. All right, and it's public, so I can change it very easily for each and every one. Last thing I'm going to add right down here, bang, 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 I'm going to add a void on, capital O, trigger, capital T, enter, capital E, and it's going to take a collider that we'll call other. All right, bracket and brace and brace. All right, and there's only a few lines of code in here. If it's our player, so if other dot tag equals quotations player quotations, then we want to do some stuff. What do we want to do? First of all, we want to go in and we want to activate the weapon, because right now the weapon itself is inactive in our inventory manager, which actually is right here. Let's go down. We want to activate our weapon, so to make it available. So this is not going to actually change and make the character automatically using the weapon. It's just going to change the fact that the player can use the weapon. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to other.gameObject, and we're going to do our get component. Dot get component. Get component. And what are we looking for? We are looking for our inventory manager. Inventory manager. and I hit the wrong button. Inventory Manager. All right, round bracket, round bracket. Now we're going to use the Activate Weapon. And which one are we going to use? Which weapon is it? It's our Which Weapon. Which Weapon. All right, so that gave us full access to our public function to now make this thing available for use. So I'm going to File, and I'm going to save that. Next, all we want to do is we want to destroy this thing. So we're going to do Destroy. And what do we want to destroy? Now, this is going on our second layer. This script is on our second layer, so we want to destroy the root layer of this whole thing. We want to destroy the entire pickup. So destroy, we want to destroy the the transform. Sorry, dot root dot game object. So we're going to the very, very root, and we're destroying the entire thing. The last thing we want to do inside of this script is play our audio, and we're going to use the same technique we looked at before. So we're going to find our audio source, and we're going to use the play clip at point function that we discussed previously. This basically allows us to play a clip at a point, even though this thing's been destroyed, the sound will still play. Okay, so we're going to play our pickup. What do we call it? Pardon me. Sorry about that. We're going to play our pickup clip, and we're going to play it where? At our transform, small t transform, they don't have it for me, transform dot position. That's where we want to play it. All right, so let me get rid of this extra line in here. Let me file save this. Boom, boom, file save. Now, if we've done this right, when we take a look at our actual flamethrower pickup, at our second level of our flamethrower pickup, we should have which weapon and which audio clip. Now, I'm going to say which weapon is equal to 1, because it's our flamethrower, and I just showed you why I picked 1. And I'm going to go into my audio, and I'm going to pick, Health Bell, I guess, again. I really should go through and find better pickup sounds, but that's all I got right now, Health Bell. So whenever you pick this thing up, it's going to go bing, or whatever the sound is. Okay, so far so good. Now, there's a couple of things we need to change, though, in our previous code. Let me make sure it's saved. It is good. In our inventory manager, let's go to the top. In our inventory manager, originally what we did, here it is right here. Originally what we did is we had this for loop. We had this for loop that turned all our weapons off, made them all not available, and then we were only going to set our current weapon to true. So only the current weapon was our 0 weapon, which is our assault rifle. All right. With this current way of doing things, if I go right now and I hit play, let me move this pickup out of the way first, so we're not grabbing it right away. If I hit play, right now I can hit my button, and I'm switching my weapons back and forth. All right. I don't want that. I don't want any weapons to be available except for my initial weapon. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to turn this code back on. So I'm going to take the comment out, and I'm going to comment out the for loop. So basically what this is I've gone through, I've turned all my weapons off. I've set my current weapon equal to my 0, which is my assault rifle, and I made that weapon available. I made this weapon available, so I actually changed the starting state of my available weapons to true. All right, I've commented out this one here where all my weapons are true. So if I say File, Save now, and I come back over here and I hit play, now when I try and switch, nothing. I can't switch at all. All right, so that's working. Now, what should happen is with that code out of the way, I should be able to jump over here, grab this flamethrower, and switch to my flamethrower. Let's check it out. Hit play. So I'm still halfway down. Let me dump a few rounds. Oh, I don't even have to. I'm going to jump over here, grab it. I heard my ding. That means that I successfully picked it up. I can fire off a few rounds, kill my dude off, and now when I hit my enter button, there's my weapon. It's got full ammo. This one doesn't. Full ammo. This one doesn't. All right, perfect. So now if I switch over here, whee! Oh, I don't want to jump on that. Oh, I died. Anyway, all I wanted to show you guys was that I can pick up ammo. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. Build yourself some pickups. Build yourself some weapons. All the code is in place, guys, to allow you to go through and finish this up, all right? We are coming down towards the end of this series, guys. I do want to go in here in my prefabs. I want to grab my where is it? My flamethrower pickup. And I'm going to drag it and drop it in here. So I've got a fully working pickup now for my flamethrower. I can go through and build one for my assault rifle if I want to. We don't actually have a way of losing any weapons in this game yet. All you can do is collect them, so you can collect an infinite number of weapons depending on how many you design. And I'm ultimately not going to design one where you can throw your weapon away. All right, it's not a swap. We could do a swap if you wanted to, but it's not a swap. And if you want to do it as a swap, all it was instead of having it have it automatically activate the weapon, so set your weapon to active, and turn off the other one, so you're throwing it away. It's really easy to do. If for some reason you want to see that and you don't understand how to make that work, let me know in the comments, and at the end of the series I can do a couple of additional videos to fill in any gaps that anyone's missing. Alright guys, like I said, we are coming to the end of this series. We are almost there. A few more things and that's it. We need win-lose conditions. I don't know if we need anything else. I'll have to give it some thought. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you are working on a game, and I hope your game looks super awesome. I'd really love to see it. If you're working on something and you want to show it to me, then please, let me know down in the comments, all right? Let me know, say, hey, here's my game, you really inspired this or whatever. Once again, with my students, what I'm going to do is my third-year students, I will put up their games so you can see what they did with what I taught, all right? I'm looking forward to seeing what they've actually built. I've got some high hopes. All right, guys, that's the end. Thumbs up. Thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode, we built ourselves a flamethrower pickup, and that allows us to switch our weapons out. Everything is set as far as our simplistic inventory system is concerned. Hopefully you'll take the ideas and you'll expand it and make yourself a vast array of weapons. In this episode, there's one last thing I'd like to take care of in this vein, and that is animation of our GUI. Currently, when we operate our GUI, all that happens is our image switches out, and I don't want that. What I want to happen is some larger indication to our player that they've made a change. All right, let's get started. Okay, guys, so like I mentioned, what I really want to do in this episode is create some animation on our GUI. It's not difficult. You've already done a lot of this kind of stuff before. This is, it's pretty easy. All right, so let's take a look at what happens currently. If I hit play, bam, and I can't switch weapons right now. Let's grab our weapon. All right, and if I switch weapons now, we have an audio indicator. We have the reload sound for either weapon that takes place, and that tells our character that something's happened. Our player something's happened. We have the weapon in the character's hand switch as well, so that tells our player something's happened. But what I'd like to do is right down here. If I hit the button again, watch right down here. Yes, I changed the GUI. I changed the image in the GUI, but I want to do more than that. I want to have some indication on here, some kind of movement on there that's going to show us that the player's actually done something. All right, that's my big plan. It's not difficult. Let's go in and find our player weapon image, which is right over here. Perfect. What we need is an animator. So I'm going to go to my animation screen. Bam. On here, I'm going to say add component, and I'm going to add in an animator. Great. Bam. An animator. And now I require an animation controller. In my animation tab over here, in my animation folder, I'm going to right click. I'm going to say create, and I'm going to create a brand new animation controller, which I will call weapon image AC. That's probably good enough. Weapon image animation controller. And let's go back to the actual weapon image right here and drag this and drop it into our controller slot. Perfect. So we're ready now to set up our animation. If I go now into my animation window, it's going to allow me to create a brand new animation. Let's do that. Create. And this first one I'm going to call weapon image idle. I'll call it weapon image idle. That's probably good for now. And basically with the weapon image idle, I'm just going to say add property. and I will add a scale for now. And I'm not going to change anything in here. I don't want anything to actually occur. Whenever this thing is playing, whenever it's moving, I want it to stay right in this state. All right, and let's add all the properties just in case. I don't know if we have to, but let's add all the properties we're going to end up affecting. I'm going to add this one. I'm going to add my rotation, and lastly, I'm going to add property, and I'm going to add my anchor position as well. Anchored position. Bam. All right, so I'll add all of those because that's what we're going to add in the next one. All right, so I'm going to say fine, that's perfectly great, and I'm going to stop this for now. So nothing actually occurred in here. We didn't actually add anything, but if I take a look at my animator, I now have my weapon idle image, or sorry, my weapon image idle, and that's just going to loop through and not moving at all, and that's perfectly fine. Let's go back here, and now we're going to say create a brand new clip. Bang. And this one here we're going to call weapon image select. I don't know. Select. All right, weapon image select. It's going to show up in here. Great. And we currently don't have any animation in here, but we're going to say add a property. We're going to add our anchored position. Bang. We are also going to add a property, and we're going to add our scale like that. And lastly, we're going to add a property, and we're going to add our, let's add our rotation as well. So those are all the things that I kind of want to affect. Now, I'm not gonna have a lot of animation. It's just gonna be something quick. So I'm gonna grab these things here. They're all zeroed out right now. Rotation, position, and scale, perfect. And let's move this down so it's like a half second long. All right, it's only gonna be a brief bam in our animation. And basically, what I want to do, is I want just enough movement that our player sees something has occurred. All right, so let's go into, let's say about, I don't know, here, maybe here. This is probably fine. And let's go into our scene, and we'll just animate it by looking at it. All right, here's our image right now. And what I want this thing to do, let's say I want it to scale out. I want it to scale properly. So I want it to get, let's say, in the X and the Y, I want it to maybe get twice as big. So 2 and 2. That big, maybe, who knows? I don't know. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit. So let's rotate it around this axis. Like that. I don't know. All right. And that'll be our first point. All right. And then what I want it to do is so it's going to come out, to get bigger. And what I want it to do is I want it to go this way. Let's have it. This is just, all I'm trying to do is add some movement in here that people say, hey, something just happened down there. All right, I'll have it go this way here, and let's make it get to be 0.9 and 0.9. All right, so I made it a little bit smaller, and lastly, I want it to settle into position. So it's going to woo like that. All right, woo. That's all it's going to happen. All right, that's probably perfectly fine. I'm not going to bother changing it any more than that. You guys can go in and play with your, if you really want to go in and play with your curves, so you've got, nice smooth in, smooth out, and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to bother for now. You guys can go ahead and do it. All you do is you grab it like this, right click and say flatten, and right click on this side and say flatten, and that's probably good enough. Flat, good enough. I know I'm an animator, but sometimes I'm really lazy too. All right, so with that in place, my animation in place, all I need to do now is activate the animation somehow. I'm going to go back to my animator. I'm going to create a transition across one way and a transition across the other way. So something is going to make this thing go back and forth, and I'm just going to shrink it down and shrink it down. Now, I want a trigger. I'm going to use a trigger to make this thing begin operating at the beginning. Hey, I turned you off. So I'm going to turn off has exit on the upward movement, on the transition from the idle to the select, all right? And I'm going to add in here, I'm going to go to my parameters list, I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to add a trigger, and I'm going to call this, it doesn't matter what I call it. I'll call it weapon switch. It doesn't really matter what I call it. Weapons, as long as you remember what it's called, it doesn't matter. So weapon switch, and I'm going to have weapon switch be the trigger to make us go up and out of here. So into my list over here, plus weapon switch, perfect. And to exit here, I'm going to have it go after a certain amount of time. It's going to travel back into this location. That's it. Then it's going to stay in the idle. The graphical portion of this is set up. Now we require a little tiny bit of code and we're done. All right, let me save that. Now we have various locations where we could actually set up this animation to take place. I think that our best bet is, let's go into our scene again and let's find our character, our soldier, and let's go into our inventory manager. Double click. All right, perfect. Oh, and let's view, zoom in, just like 5 times. View, zoom in, and view, zoom in. And one more for good measure, view, zoom in. There's not actually a lot of code that we got to add in here. So basically, all I want to do is in my inventory manager, this is already where I switch weapons, right? I come in here, whenever we push the button is where we actually switch our weapons, all right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here, and at the top up here, we're going to add not in the start, sorry. Not in the start, way up here. At the very, very top, we're going to add a link to our animator, all right? So animator, and let's call this weapon image AC. All right, or just weapon image anim, maybe is a better name. Weapon image anim. So once we get we'd have to have a link to this first of all, and we're going to do that in our start. So right here, we've already gone through, set our weapons, etc. Let's add it right underneath our for loop right here, and all we're looking for is to find what that weapon image anim is. So weapon image anim is going to be equal to our, we already have a link to our weapon image. It's right there, right at the top, called weapon image. So it's going to be equal to weapon image dot, and we're going to get our component. Get component. What are we looking for? We're looking for an animator. All right, perfect. Now we've got it, and as soon as we actually have access to it, let me file save this. As soon as we have access to it, that gives us the opportunity to go in and make calls to it. All right, and all we really want to do is go through and actually set our weapon to be active. All right, and let's go down here. We've done a number of things here. We go through and in our update, we figure out whether or not we've actually pushed the button and whether or not we should do anything. If we are supposed to do something, we go to our set weapon active. So I think that is the best location to actually go in and start up our animation. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Right in here, deactivate weapon, set it to true. Once we've done that and we initialize the weapon, let's go into our initialization of our weapon right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say our weapons, what did I call it? Weapons image something, didn't I? Man, I have a bad memory. Weapon image anim, is what we called it. And we want to basically set trigger. All right. Our trigger was our, what did I call it? Oh, I have bad memory. Animator. I call it not gun melee. Let's go down here. That's the character. Boom. Weapon switch, I called it. Basically, all we want to do is set our weapon switch. And once we do, it automatically is going to kick off. That's all we should really need to do. That's all we should need to do. All right, I'm going to say File, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go to my scene, and I make sure I have no errors in my console. I have none. I'm going to hit play with maximize on play on. So right away we saw it kick in there. The animation looked shitty, or crappy I should say, excuse me. And I'm just going to jump over, grab it, and I'm going to switch the weapons out and see. So I don't like the way that looks, but it operates appropriately. All right. I now have a very large indication in the corner that we've changed weapons in some way. And that's how easy it is to animate your GUI. I've had a few questions about how do you animate your GUI? Well, that's it. That's it, guys. It's done exactly the same way. All right, and this works perfectly fine. We've got a big movement down there. We can now see something's changed, and that's really what you want. That's why your GUI's there. Your GUI's there to give the player information they might not necessarily have. In our case, maybe it's not necessary. We've got a weapon switch, and we can see that occurring. Maybe that's enough. But in this case here, what we can see is we can see how easy it is to show off something very, very quickly. That's it, guys. That's working. That's our basic inventory done. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. And I hope you are building really awesome games. I can't wait to see what you've done. only a couple of episodes left. I think we've got to have some winning conditions, maybe a close button, and I don't know if we need much more than that. And that's it, guys. That's all we're going to need. All right? I haven't mentioned this before, but if you are interested, I do have a Patreon account. The Patreon account is going to be available on my YouTube page. Check it out. If you, for some reason, want access to all of my scripts and all of my projects, I do have a Patreon option in there for my patrons that allows them to download everything here. All right, guys. I've also got a Patreon reward that allows my patrons to actually go through and choose what our next subjects are going to be, and I actually dedicate videos to them. So if they have a burning question, they really want to see how something is done, you can ask me to build that actual video. All right, guys. I won't mention Patreon again. Maybe not again anytime soon anyway. I won't mention it again for the next little while, and I hope you guys take the opportunity to take a look at it, and if you want to support me, that would be awesome. All right, guys? I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to see your games. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello everyone, and welcome to this, another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kisanis. In the last episode, we took care of our inventory. We finished the whole thing up. We've got ourselves a GUI now that actually shows us what weapon we're carrying around. We've got ourselves an ability to switch around our weapons. We've got everything like that done. To be honest, we are coming towards the end of this series. I've only got a couple more episodes I want to do. I'm not really sure how long each of the topics will take, but we've only got a few more that we want to do. Now, just to let you guys know, my headset broke, my mic broke. This is my first time recording with a brand new headset. I bought myself a Razer headset, and the sound is pretty good, and I know it records very well, but I can no longer, it's completely silent. I can no longer hear myself talking. Whenever I speak out loud like this, I can no longer hear myself talking. So I'm really hoping that this is recording properly. Anyway, guys, in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at our end game scenario and our winning game scenario. I'm not going to go through a lot of the building and that kind of stuff. We're just going to really take a look at the basic aspects of it. Really just setting up the GUI and having the game restart is for the first episode. The second one will be the winning conditions where we actually win the game. We're going to set up a little safe house that we can run into. And after that, other than maybe a really simple menu system, a quit screen, something like that, that's it. We're all done. All right, guys, let's get started. Okay, guys, so there's a couple things we need to do in order to be able to have this game either reset when you win or reset when you lose. And what we're going to do, we're going to start off by creating a couple of little GUI pieces. These earphones are freaking me out. I can't hear myself at all, and it's freaking me out. Anyway, find yourself your player canvas, and what I want you guys to do is right-click, say Create, or go to your UI, and add yourself a new text. And let's go to 2D. So we're seeing this whole thing. Boom, 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 boom. So this is the first time we've added text, and the text doesn't work any differently than the other UI elements we've added. Let's just name this right away to End Game Text. It works pretty much exactly the same way. Once again, we've got ourselves a rect transform to allow us to manipulate it. We've got ourselves text option here. I'm going to set in for my text. I'm going to call it, I'm going to put you died. All right, you died. That's what's going to happen whenever you die. It's going to say you died. Perfect. Keep it simple. Underneath that, I've got myself a font. Now, I've gone through and I've downloaded a font from defonts.com. I chose DK Face Your Fears 2, and there's a lot of great fonts on defonts.com. I'll tell you guys that. There's a lot of great fonts on there. I am not using this game for any kind of commercial purpose. It's just for teaching, just strictly for teaching. I'm not selling this game or anything else. Make sure if you guys go to defonts.com, DAFONTS, if you go there, make sure that you've read through their licensing agreements. A lot of them are free. A lot of them just say, hey, let me know that you're using my font. But make sure if you are planning on using a font from there that you read through the licensing agreement if you're planning on any way making it anything commercial. Alright, guys? Anyway, I've downloaded DK Face Your Fears, and I'm going to use that in my actual font. So, Endgame, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to change this font, boom, to DK Face Your Fears. And all I did is I moved it in my assets folder. I created a new folder called fonts. I moved it into my assets folder, and it's automatically available to you. I'm going to up the size to, let's say, 100. And I'm going to make sure that it is centered, bang, and centered, bang. Obviously, it's not showing on the screen right now, and that's because right now I don't have my wrapping or anything on, and I'm not going to bother changing it, to be honest. What I'm going to do is come up here, and I'm going to make sure that this text is spread across my entire screen. So I'm going to click my little button here, hit Shift, and hit Alt, and I'm going to, bang, spread it out across the entire screen. Now, I don't want to use gray either, so let's go down there and change that gray color, this dark gray color, to a bright red. That's a you're dead kind of color right there. All right, so a nice bright red. And that's basically what I want to, that's all I really need to create as far as the asset is concerned. What I do want to add in here, I'm going to shrink this up for a minute. What I do want to add in here is I want to add a component. Well, I'm not going to bother doing it this way. What I am going to do is I'm going to go to my animation screen, my animation tab right here, and I want to add some animation to this. So when the game first starts, the you died screen is going to be off. Okay, we're not going to see it at all. So I'm going to say create first of all, and it's asking me where I want to put it. I want to make sure I put it in my assets, in my animations folder, and I'm going to create a brand new how about end game idle. All right, end game idle, save. Using my animation tab instead of going through and manually creating the animator and everything else through the components is much easier. Automatically here, it automatically sets my end game controller in place. The controllers and everything else, just like previously, everything was added into my animation here. What did I call it? End game right there. It's all there. All right, so doing it through the animation tab is much easier. Now, basically what I want to do in my end game idle, I'm going to add a property, and I'm going to add the rect transform just to scale plus, just to scale. And basically, I only need one key, so I'm going to remove this one here for now. And I want my initial section, my initial selection should be all zeroed out. So scale 0, and scale 0, and hit return. And now what I've got is the actual object. I'm going to turn this off for a minute. When I hit play, we don't actually see it here any longer. All right, it's all been scaled to 0, and that's perfect. I want it to remain like that for the entire game until the point when I actually die. Okay, I'm going to add in a brand new animation, create a new clip, and once again, it's going to go in animation. I'm going to call it end game finish. I don't know, end game finish. And basically, what I want to happen, I'm going to add a property, and once again, I'm going to add my scale. Boop. And basically what I want to happen is I want it to start off at 0. So we have nothing on the screen. It's starting off with the same condition as, why didn't this turn red? It's going to start off with the same condition. Come here, you. Same condition, all zeroed out. 0 and 0 and 0. It's going to start off with the exact same condition that we ended our last one with. So our idle is all zeroed out. This one's going to start off all zeroed out as well. So it starts at the same location. And 1 second's too long. I'm going to drag this down to, let's say right about there. At point 4, I want it to be all 1. So 1, 1, oops, 1, 1, and 1. Am I missing something here? No. Okay, great. So at the end here, it's going to have a value of 1. The scale itself is going to be full scale. All right, so you can see it's getting larger there. And I'm just going to add a little bit of bob to it. So somewhere around, let's say 0.2, I'll have it go up to 1.25 and 1.25. And just for fun, 1.25. My Z value has no effect at all, but I'll change it anyway. And then I want to shrink back down a little bit. Let's have it go to 0.9 and 0.9 and 0.9. So now what I'm getting, if I hit play and we take a look at this, let me just turn it off for now. Let's move it down here. And I hit play, we're going to see we kind of get that little bob going on. And that's pretty good. That's perfectly fine. You can go through if you want to and adjust your curves if you want. Make sure that you've got all of the, let me have this go into a flat and have this one start off as a flat. So we kind of get a nice smooth in and smooth out. The other ones are perfectly fine. All right, that's all we really need to do in order to create the asset we require. The last thing I'm going to do is go into the animator itself, and here we've got my end game, in my end game finish, and I just want to have it go in one direction from idle, make transition to my end game finish. And I'm going to add a brand new parameter here. I'm going to add a trigger, and we'll call this end game. All right, and we'll use end game. Why is this still doing that? Get off there. We'll use end game as our actual trigger in order to go from idle to end game. So I'm going to go in here in my conditions and turn on end game. All right. All we have to do now is write the code that we want to occur. Basically, what we're going to want to occur in the code is the end game is going to play, it's going to show, and a few seconds later, we're going to restart our level. That's how we're going to deal with the character dying. All right, so let's take a look at the code. So the code involved is not very difficult at all. There's only a few places we have to make changes in order to have this work properly. Basically, what we want to happen when the character dies, we still go through and show our death screen. We still go through and show our death effects. We flash our screen, our you died on the screen, and then we want the game to restart. All right, so let's start off right away by showing our you died. Okay. Let's go into our soldier. There's only a few places we have to actually make code changes. Let's go into our soldier. Let's go into our player health. And let's grab it up here. And in our player health, basically what we want to do, we already know that when we die, we've got our make dead in here. So we can make everything occur in the make dead script. What we want to do, at the very top, let's make a link. Let's make a link to our existing public text, to the text that we just created. Text, and let's call this end game text, I guess is perfectly fine. All right, and basically what we want to do is we want to basically just set up the animator to work. That's all we want to do. So let's go down into our make dead, and underneath where we destroy it, let's go to our end game text. No, sorry, let's not do that. What I want to do is I want to look for the animator, and let's call it end game anim. It's going to be equal to our end game text, dot get component. Yep, get component. We're looking for the animator, and that's it. And once we've got that animator, all we want to do is set our trigger. So let's go to our end game anim dot set trigger, and I think we called it quotations end game quotations. All right, and just simply by doing this, let's file save that. We should automatically have, as long as I go in and set up my public function properly, my public variable. Let's go to the top here, to our soldier, and right there, my end game. Let's grab it. Where is it? End game text. Let's just grab it and drop it in there, and let's hit play. All right, so when I jump on here, bang. You died. Okay, perfect. That's what we want to happen. So far, so good. Now, basically what we want to happen... Where'd my fire go? Okay, I never had a fire. Thought I had a fire in that can. So, basically what we want to happen now is we want the game to restart. And we want, every time you die, we've only got one level here, we're just going to basically restart the level. And that's all we're really going to do. We're going to restart the level. All right, and once again, it's fairly straightforward. We're going to use the same code to restart the level regardless of whether you win the game or you lose the game. That's how we're going to do it. If you win or lose, the level itself is going to restart. So I want you guys to scroll down and find this thing called the game controller. We built this a while ago, and basically all it did right now is hold these guys, our things that collect the dead bodies, right? That's all it does so far. Let's go in there and add a component. Let's add a brand new script, and we're going to call this, let's call it restart game. Oh my god, restart game. Let's call it that. Oh my god, restart game. All right, restart game. Let's open that up. And there we go. Restart game, and it's a fairly simplistic script. All we really want to happen. Let's add in here a couple of things. Let's add in here a public float that we're going to call restart time. Restart time. All right, and that's the amount of time that we're going to wait before the game actually restarts. Let's add in a bool that we're going to call reset now. Reset now. And if it's true, then we're resetting the game. If it's false, which we'll set it to right away, then the game is not resetting. And lastly, we're going to have a float that we're going to call reset time. And reset time is the actual in-game time that we go through and we reset the game. All right, and we can skip the start function. Let's go right down to the update. And in the update, we're going to have in here an if. And if reset now, it's not here. Reset now, there it is. If reset now is true, and our reset time is less than or equal to our current time, then we can reset the game. All right, and to reset the game, it's very, very simplistic. It's one line of code. We're going to use a built-in application dot load level, and what level do we want to load? We want to load the application dot loaded level. All right, so we're just going to reload our existing level. So that's perfect. This will actually take care of restarting the level over again. Now, we have no current way of setting up our reset time or setting this to true. So let's go down here and let's add a public void function that we're going to call restart game. No, restart the game, because we can't call it the same thing. Restart the game. And it's not going to take any variables. All right, and basically all it's going to do is set our reset now equal to true. And it's going to actually update our reset time equal to our restart time plus our existing time. All right, that's all it's going to do. And let's file save that. All right, and by making it public like this, that means we can access it from different locations. We're going to access it right now from the player health. In here, let's go to the top right away, and let's set up a link to that actual script. Restart game. Let's make it public restart game, and we'll call it the game controller. The game controller, that's fine. Basically it's a link to our restart game, and we want to come all the way down to our make dead, and we want to access it. Now we already know where it is. We've already got it. So the game controller dot restart. Let's do that again. Dot restart the game. All right, and bang, bang, bang. Now I'm gonna file save that. File save. And make sure this one's file save. It is. Okay, so I have a few locations now with some public variables. Let's go in and check them out. In our soldier, we got to make sure we've got everything linked up. None. The restart controller, the game controller is our game controller. Let's drag it and drop it in place. And in our game controller, we'll have a reset time. Let's make it start over after 3 seconds. That's fine. All right. Let's file save this, and let's hit play. And when we hit play, when I die now, if I jump on here, boom, I died, you died, the game restarts. Let's shoot up our can here. Oh, I clicked in the wrong spot. I'm clicking like crazy in the wrong spot. All right, let's go through. Let's die. Let's just die like this time. Oh, I didn't die. Ugh. There you go. You died, and the game itself should automatically reset. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to happen. All right, guys. What we're going to do, I'm going to call it off right here. I think that's probably about at least 15 or 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it off right there. And in the next episode, we'll take care of winning the game. So this is how you lose. Everyone can lose now. Let's make sure we can win. All right, guys? I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, let me know with a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. If you want to give my headphones a thumb down, you can, because you know what? Not being able to hear myself is actually confusing the crap out of me. Anyway, I'll get used to it. So thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this, another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kisanis. In the last episode, we took care of the losing conditions for the game. We can lose now, the game restarts, everything works out great. Now, there's a couple of things that we're going to do today. What we want to take a look at today is the winning conditions, and I want to cover a topic that's a little bit outside of that. I'm going to do something in a kind of a roundabout way. I've had several people ask me about being able to change the pivot point, and this is both my real-life students and people here on YouTube, being able to change the pivot point of existing 3D objects. And And I'm going to take a look at doing that today. It's a really roundabout way of doing it. There's no simple way of doing it in Unity right now, but I'll show you guys a roundabout way to be able to change the pivot point of an object. All right, let's get started. Okay guys, so like I said, we're going to be creating the win game scenario here, and the win game scenario is pretty simplistic. Basically, the character has to run, he has to cross a number of the platforms. I've only got a couple set up right now. I've created this new platform at the end, basically a platform exactly the same way as the other ones. I'm not gonna show you guys how to do this. You've already learned how. Exactly the same as the other ones. I've created a simple box as well, and I've also got on here a door. So this consists of a platform, another platform, the actual box, and the door. And basically, I want this door to be open when the character runs in, and it's going to close when the character comes out the other side. All right, very, very straightforward, very, very simplistic. Now, the reason why I'm doing it like this, what I'm going to do here is I want to show you guys how to change the pivot point of an existing object. Now, in 3D, a lot of people have been asking me about this, because in 3D it's really easy to do. In 3D, you simply move it. You simply move it to where you want it, and in the new location, everything works fine. That doesn't exist in Unity, and it's a huge oversight in my opinion. It really should be something that's added to Unity, and I really hope they add it soon. Changing the pivot point of a 3D object is fairly important to animators. Now, there is a roundabout way. Now, we have discussed several different ways, actually. We discussed the way of doing this previously. We discussed adding in a hinge joint, for example. We could add in a hinge joint, and that hinge joint, then we could apply a force to the door and have the door slam shut. And that would work perfectly fine. Now, that would work fine for something like a door, but if you really want to change the actual position, the actual pivot point of an object, there is a roundabout way of doing it, and I'm going to show you how now. If we take a look at this door, at this actual object, the door itself consists of this safe house door and this second layer safe house door. Now, the top one is just simply a positioning. It's got a transform node that you can put in position, and the second one, the second child is the actual mesh and everything else. Now, in both cases, the pivot point of the door is directly in the middle, and regardless of which one you want to animate, if you want to animate this, regardless of which one you want to animate, it's not going to work out the way you want it to because it's pivoting in the middle, right? So if we wanted to create an animation simply for this object, and I didn't want to add in any special physics objects, what I could do instead is I could add, watch, now I've created this thing here called the hinge, and this hinge is simply a transform object, transform node with a sphere collider set up as a trigger. If I drag this hinge in place, let me drag it onto my safe house door. And when I do, if I take a look now at my safe house door, the pivot point moved from the middle to somewhere on this lower edge. The larger the volume of the object I'm adding, the closer the pivot point will move to that central location. I've added a very large trigger sphere in here, so the pivot point moved from the center, which it was used to be like this, to this location closer where the hinge is. All right. So what I'm going to do is, with that hinge in place, I'm going to simply drag my safe house door, the second layer of safe house door, onto the hinge itself. So I've got now 3 layers: the safe house door, the hinge, and this mesh section of the safe house door. And what this has allowed me to do is change the pivot point. Right now, my pivot point is located right there. And I can go through and I can animate this. I can move it just like that. So my pivot point now is going to be located in the lower left-hand corner. So I can open and close this door appropriately. It's a really crappy way of doing it. It's a really roundabout way of changing the pivot location of an individual object. But currently, it's the only way that I know of doing so, by adding enough volume into the existing object to physically move that pivot point from its original location into the center location of your object. All right. So with that said, what I want to do, I'm going to go on to my hinge right here, and I'm going to actually add some animation to this. So I'm going to go in, my animation selected, that's great. I'm going to add component, and I'm going to go in and add well, I'm not going to do it this way actually. I'm going to go to my animator, my animation, and I'm going to say create, and it's going to say, what do I want to create? And I want to create something I'm going to call safe house door idle. Alright, and there it is to start off with. I've got myself an animator on my hinge. Perfect. And the way I want this thing to start off with, I'm going to add a property, and I'm only going to change my transform and only change my rotation. And basically, I want this thing to start off with 180 degrees open. I want the door to be wide open. Or, let's try 170. That's not quite enough. Let's try 150. Just so when we're running in, we can kind of see the doors open like that. All right, 150. And I can get rid of this other location here. Bam, I don't need it. All right, so this is our idle. Our door is going to remain in this idle and open like this until the character runs inside. All right, I'm going to go in now and I'm going to add a brand new clip, create clip, and I'm going to call it safe house door close. I'll call it close. That's fine. Save. And basically, once again, I'm going to say add property, and I'm going to add my transform and my rotation in. Bang, and it's going to have the same rotation I used to have. And after, let's say half a second, when the character runs inside, I want to close pretty fast. So let's say half a second. Basically, I want to close it, and I think it's supposed to be 0. It is 0. All right. So bang, the door's going to slam shut. All right. That's all that's going to happen. Boom, the door slams shut. Okay. That's our animation. That's it. I'm going to turn this off now. Bang. Perfect. And when I go to my animator, I've got my idle. It's going to start off in idle, and I basically want to set up a trigger. I turned you off, yo. I'm going to set up a trigger in here. Trigger. And we'll call this safe house trigger. Is fine. And I want it to go from here to here. Boom, like that. And the safe house trigger is what's going to cause it to happen. Let's drag this down. And let's say hazard time is turned off because I don't want it on. And I want to trigger. That's it. All right. And the last thing I want to do is I want to make sure I go into my animation, into my project, find my safe house door, close. Safe house door, close, and make sure this is not looped. All right. So it won't open and close over and over again. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to file save this. Now, basically what we have to do is we have to write the code that's going to allow our character to run in there and slam the door shut. All right, let's take a look at that. Okay, so in order for this to work appropriately, basically what we want to happen, let me just make sure right now, if I hit maximize on play, turn that off, hit play, make sure my door starts off as open, which is exactly what we want. So that's perfect. Now, basically what we want to happen is if the character runs inside of here, we want some code to be triggered. And so what we're going to do, we've got 3 levels here. We've got ourselves our safe house door, our hinge, and our bottom layer safe house door. This top layer is not animated, doesn't move in any way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component, I'm going to add physics, and I'll add a box collider. It's going to end up being a trigger. And let's make it 100 by 100 by 100. All right, is that still too tiny? Oh, it's way over there still. It's so way over there. That's perfectly fine though. Let's move this entire thing to minus 800. Where's that? Where's that located? Let's get inside here and take a look. All right, that's probably perfectly fine. We just want to make sure that it is located in front of the door. So let's move it also in the X minus 100. No, wrong way. 100. That's probably lined up. Let's make it 150 just to make sure. 125. All right, that is probably lined up. Let's move it up in the Y. 50. 50. All right, that's probably lined up perfectly, and it's a trigger. So that trigger is going to give us several opportunities to issue code. When the character enters it, when the character leaves it, or when the character exits. So leaves, exits, or stays. All right, those are the 3 opportunities. I don't think I said stays the first time. Exits, enters, or leaves. Enters, exits, or stays. Let's just write the code. All right, let's add a component. Add component. Let's add a brand new script. New script, and let's call this safe house door controller. All right, and let's double click it. It's going to use a lot of the same ideas as our previous one did, as our previous episode. We want to do a lot of the same things. Basically, we're going to need, is it in player health we did this before? Yeah, it's player health. It's going to be a lot like player health. Basically what we need is we need a couple of things. We need to have a link to our text. We need to have a link to our game controller. So let's just take these things right away and copy and paste it. Edit, copy, and let's paste this right smack in here. Boom. All right, so that's great. And I also want to have, this is the entire controller. So this is actually our HUD stuff. HUD. I want to have in here a little bit of audio stuff as well. We don't actually have any audio at this time, so let's go back to our actual object. We have to add a few things in here. Let's go into our safe house and let's add an audio source in here, and let's attach to the audio source. Oops, let's open this up. Let's attach this audio source an actual clip. And do I have a door? A door clip? Do I? Heavy door. Boom, I do. Perfect. And we're not going to play it on awake. We're going to turn it off for now. All right, so we're going to have this heavy door in place, and basically what I want, let's go back to our code. I'm going to have to have an audio source, so an audio source. Audio source. And we'll just call it safe door audio. All right. In the start, let's try and find our safe door audio to start off with. So safe door audio is going to equal to get component, and we're looking for our audio source. All right, and if we find it, we'll be able to make the appropriate noise when the door actually closes. So that's perfect so far. Now, we also, like I said, have this link to both our text and our actual game controller. First thing we're going to do, let's go in here and add our void on trigger enter. It takes a single parameter. It takes a collider that we'll call other. And we'll add in our braces to make sure we're all set here. And basically what we want to happen, we want to check and see if it's our player that came in here. Maybe have an enemy running around back there. Who knows? So if other.tag equals quotations player, then we are all set. All right. What did I write? iDictionary. That should say if. If other tag equals player, we want to do some stuff. All right. What do we want to do? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we have our door closed. All right, so let's go in and let's find our actual animator. We know our animator is located below this level. There's only one animator, and it's located somewhere in one of the children. So let's make a new thing called animator, and we'll call it safe door anim, and it's going to be equal to our get component. Now it's on the children, so make sure you get component in children, and we're looking for the animator. All right, and once we find it, we can actually safe door anim. We can actually set our trigger and set trigger, and I can't remember what I called it. Let's go take a look. Safe house trigger. Oh, that's a good name. All right, safe house trigger. Okay, so once we do that, we're setting off our trigger, and it's going to automatically close the door. So far, so good. Our player is now stuck inside. The next thing we can do, we already have a link to our safe house door audio. Safe door audio dot play. We actually want to play it. We want to play whatever our sound is, which is our door slamming. Let's make sure it's not looping. I didn't set up the loop, did I? Let's make sure. Safe door. Not looping. Okay, great. Yeah, just plays once. That's what we want. Perfect. All right, so we actually go through and we play our audio. So far, so good. Now, we also want to trigger our effect of the actual text operating. So let's go in, look at our player health again, see what we did. This is from the last episode. The last episode we went through, we got our animator from our, well, let's have the same name, I guess. We set our trigger, and then we did restart game. So I'm going to edit, copy the same thing. Come in here, boom, paste the same thing, paste. So basically what we're doing now is we are going to our animator, our endgame anim, which we're defining here, is equal to our endgame.text, which we defined here, getting the component for the animator, then we are setting the trigger for the endgame, which is what it was called from before. Now we're going to have a problem. The problem is, once we've done this, we're going to play our animation that we set up before. And the animation we set up before basically said, you died. We don't want that. So we want to go through and change the text somehow. And we can. We already have access to our text right here, our endgame text. So endgame text dot text is going to be equal to, and we can say whatever we want. We want to set it equal to safe house. Safe house. All right. And by doing this, we're basically updating the text of our endgame text, which, like I said, is located here, updating to safe house. So now when it comes up, it should say safe house when we actually win the game. All right. The animator should play, and the game should restart. So let's file, save this, and let's go in here. Let's go into our safe house door right here, and as long as, oh, I'm missing something. I've got myself an error right here. Let's see what it is. Console. The type or name text could not be found. Oh, I know why. Let's go back here and take a look. I forgot to add at the top using Unity engine .ui. So we didn't actually have access to the UI information yet. Let's file save that. File save. Now that's going to give us access to everything else, to our text and everything else. All right. Let's go back and take a look now. This should clear, and it has. Perfect. All right. If we look inside of our area here, we've got ourselves our endgame text. So let's go down and drag that in. Our endgame text. And we also have our game controller. Now we're missing something here. Let's go back and add that in 1 second. Our game controller is right here. The last thing we're missing is our time. All right. We should have a certain amount of time. Oh, no, that's in our game controller, right? Game controller. Yes, it already is. All right. So everything should be here. This should operate appropriately. We've got one other mistake, but we'll take a look at that in 1 second. Oh, let me set this to maximize on play before we actually start. All right, let's just run over there. It's going to be really loud, guys. Like I said, there's no audio control yet. Sorry. Jump, jump. Let's get up there. Let me out the door. All right, when we run inside, jump. When we run inside, the door shams behind us, safe house, the game restarts. So everything there works great. We are missing one little thing though, and it doesn't actually go quite fast enough. We're gonna go in and we're gonna change that a little bit so it goes much faster. In our actual game, what am I doing? In our actual game, right here, let's go to our scene, and in the game itself, on our safe house door, this part right here, there's nothing preventing the character from running back out. All right, so let's just add a component. Let's add a physics box collider. It'll automatically be the right size. All right, so when this opens and closes now, the character won't be able to get out. All right, let's try it one more time. Play. Jump. Boom, 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 boom. Nice and loud. And for me, it's extra weird because I'm still getting used to these new headphones I have, and I can't hear anything. Can't hear anything outside of what I'm doing in here, so it's super loud. Make it! I did it. All right. Inside. Shuts. Can't get back out. Can't get out. Oh, I got to turn that off. I have to destroy it. All right, interesting. So there's one last thing there. I don't want to keep playing it over and over, so I didn't actually realize that. So we're going to do a little bit of improv code right here. We want to make sure that we only do this once. We only trigger this once, all right? So let's set up a bool up here. Let's just set it up here. Bool. And we'll call it in safe. It doesn't really matter what we call it. We're going to set it equal to false to begin with. False. And if the other tag is player, in safe is false, then what we want to do is come in here. All right. Once we get inside here, we're immediately going to set in safe equal to true. All right. So now we can only play it once. Last time we're going to check this. File, save it, and play. Last time we'll check this. Everybody's dead. Jump. Let's keep going here. Over the electricity. Jump. Up here. Not a very interesting game just yet, is it? There's a lot of work that goes into this, guys. Level design is extremely important. I made it. Inside. And it only sets it off once. Alright? Perfect! That's exactly how it's supposed to work. Alright, guys. That brings us to the end of this episode. And to be honest, I think we're almost done. I'm going to do one more episode on I'm gonna do one more episode about an exit screen, so you can exit out of this game. But other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot left to do. At this point, guys, you have everything that you need to make yourself a 2.5D side-scrolling platform. Everything you need, except for, of course, the ability to stop. Because right now, we just keep going forever and ever and ever. So all you have left is that one last thing. We'll go over that. We'll go over compiling this game and setting it up so you can send it out to all your friends. Alright, guys? I really, really hope that you have been following along, that you have used everything I've taught you and built a really awesome game of your own. Maybe you don't have it done yet, and that's cool. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to make an appropriate game. But I'd really like to see what you do have. Alright, if you've been following along, guys, please make sure you send me a link. Say, hey, I put a game up here. Take a look at it. What do you think, Kasanas? I did this because you taught me how. That would make me feel awesome. I am going to have my students work up pretty soon. So any of the students who want me to show off their games, the games that they created, I will have the same thing I do with the 2D option. I will have a link or at least a preview of all of their games. All right, and any information about them that you want to know. All right, guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Comments are always, always appreciated. All right? Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourself a wonderful day, everyone. Hello everyone and welcome to this another episode of 3D prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode we took care of the winning condition, so our player can now win. We also took care of being able to change the pivot point of an existing 3D object, which is something that Unity can't currently do in any easy format. So hopefully what I showed you was helpful. I think today is going to be the last episode in this series. I don't think there's anything else that really needs to be said or done. I will look through to make sure I've got everything in here, because there was a lot of episodes. This is episode number 43. So there's a lot of episodes here, a lot of information I covered, and I want to make sure I gave you all of the right stuff. So there might be one last, hey, look at this episode. I don't know. There's also going to be the results episodes, guys. The results of my third year students. Hopefully I've got some really good games coming out. Hopefully they'll all have them done and I'll be able to show off some of the games that those students made. Okay? I'm really got my fingers crossed and hopefully you guys will be able to see those games too. So that's it. That'll be the end of this series. Just today's and maybe one or two like a results and maybe one correction video or something like that. There's something I want to work on and that's the jumping that you guys have mentioned a few times. Anyway, we'll talk about that later on. In today's episode, what we're going to take a look at is the ability to be able to escape out of the game. Currently, if you win, you start the level over, and if you lose, you start the level over. So all you keep doing is starting the level over forever and ever and ever, and you don't want that. We're going to set it up so that you can either click a button to get out of the game and just get out of the game, or hit the escape button and get out of the game. We're also going to take a look at compiling your finished game. And what's required to do that, and what you're going to end up with. Alright guys, let's get started. Okay guys, so first things first, basically what I want to do is add a button right up here in the upper right hand corner. And we have a few different options on how to do this. Depending on how much information you want to add, how many buttons you want to add that are interactable, we can go through and build ourselves a separate canvas, which is what I'm going to ultimately do in case you guys have more buttons you want to add. If you don't want to and you're like, well, I like the canvas I have, you're going to have to make sure that the canvas group is turned on to interactable to allow you to interact with the button. If you don't turn that back on, you won't be able to interact with anything that's on this canvas at all. We do currently have our sliders set up so that they are not interactable, so you could turn this on without any real danger of anyone being able to slide this back and forth. All right, so that's one of the options. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to create a brand new canvas to show you can have overlapping canvases first of all, and also to demonstrate to you that just to go over the original design behind GUI again. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create. Not inside here, out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to create a brand new UI canvas. Boop. And we're going to call this canvas, let's go to the top here. We're going to call this canvas extra button canvas. extra button canvas. And so any of your extra buttons that you might want to have in here, if you have for some reason, more than just the single button I'm going to show you, you can add it in here. And what we did last time, we made sure that we went to the top, and right now it's currently set to screen overlay, so it's spread across the entire screen, which is great. We're going to scroll down here, and we're going to add a component, and we're going to add in a canvas group. Canvas group. And right here, the last time we said not interactable. All right, and we're going to leave this one here to interactable. We'll turn off blocks raycast. It doesn't really matter, but we'll do this for now. All right, and what I want to do on this extra canvas, on this extra button canvas, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to say create, and I'm going to create a brand new UI element. I'm going to create a button. Bam. There's my button. Let's center. Oh, I thought I turned off Skype. Great. Let's center this out for now, and make sure that it's where we want it to be. Now, we don't want it in the center of the screen. We don't want it in the center of the screen at all. We want it to be in the upper right-hand corner. So right away, we can go into our little box right here. We can click on it, and we can say Alt, or Shift and Alt, and we can move it into the upper right-hand corner, just like that. Now, ultimately, we're going to add a little bit of an offset to make sure it's kind of where we like it, but it's fine for now. What I want to do next, let's take a look at what a button is. A button consists of this image script, along with text, so there's text and everything else associated with it, as well as this button script. And the button script is what allows us to go through and do any kind of interaction with the button itself. All right. So first thing I want to do is change my UI script. The UI image, source image. I don't want to use anything that's actually in here right now. Let's go into our textures. Find our textures, find our close button right here, and let's make sure that this is a 2D icon, or a icon, excuse me, right here, 2D sprite. Bam! And as soon as we say apply, it's now going to be available as a button. So let's change the name of this to quit button first of all. Quit button. And let's go in here and change out our image to be our icon. Now, obviously, I want it to be square, so let's make it a 30 by 30. Let's make it 50 by 50 just to make sure. 50 by 50. 50 by 50. All right, great. And let's go down here and take a look. Once that's set, we've actually got our actual icon set up, and everything is perfect. All right. The only thing we're missing currently is our list of publicly available options to be able to click on this button. All right, let's move it away from the edge a little bit too. I don't like where it is. It's not located in the right spot. Let's move it in the X. Let's move it minus 25, and let's move it minus 25 in the Y. So when I hit play now, it's located right there, which is perfect. All right. Okay, so basically what I want to do is add a little bit of code now that's going to allow me to access this button and do specific things. So adding code is not difficult at all. Basically, I want to add code to an existing object, and we've already got our game controller right here. So I'm going to add code to our restart game and allow. Oh, let's make this view. Let's make this bigger. Zoom in. Zoom in. Zoom in, and one more for good measure, zoom in. All right, so we want to add code into this existing object right here. We're going to add only a couple of lines of code. I want to have two situations where I can actually close off this application. One, if you click the button, and secondly, if you hit escape. If you don't want to go and click, you can just hit escape and get out of the game. All right, so first, if we want to close this game by using the button, we're going to add a public void function that I'm going to call quit game. Oops, quit game. It's not going to take any parameters, and there are my braces. Basically, it's one line of code. Application dot quit. All right, brackets and semicolon. So when I say file save here, file save, and I go back to my actual button. Actually, you know what? In the button itself, make sure you've opened up the little arrow. If you want to keep the text and put something in there, you can. I don't want it. I'm just going to hit delete. I don't want it at all. Just the quit button by itself is fine. If we scroll down to the quit button, we've got this list, empty list of on-click events. And basically what I want to do, I'm going to add to it plus, I'm going to add to it one object. I'm going to add to it our game controller. and when I drop my game controller in here, it's going to allow me to pick out any of the public functions that I've got available to use. So restart game is where I want to use it. It's my function, and I want to find quit game. Boom. That's it. Once I file save this, this will now allow me to quit. And I'll have to show you once this is compiled. I don't think you can use the quit button. Let me just double check. I don't think you can. Let's check. No, you can't. You can't use the quit button. You can't use this quit application in this mode. It has to actually be a compiled project. But we're going to compile it today, guys. Don't worry. All right, so that's the first way of quitting. The second way I want to quit, let's open up our function again. The second way I want to quit is by hitting the escape button. So in the update, if input dot, and we're going to basically be looking at a key, get key, and if someone hits the escape key, so quotations, escape, quotations, if someone hits the escape key, then what do I want to do? I want to application. I could actually just go in and say quit game, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say application, just so you guys see it again, quit, bang. All right, and that's it. When I say file, save, our game now allows us to quit either through the escape key or through that button. All right. So, like I said, I can't demonstrate it right now. I just can't do it. We don't have the ability while we're in this mode. But I'm going to show you right now how to actually compile your game. Okay, guys? This is it. This is it. We're ending. Don't feel too bad. There's going to be another series. Don't worry, but we're ending this one very soon. Okay, guys, so sorry, I realized there was a couple of quick mistakes, and I realized after the fact, so let's take a look at them really fast right now. In our code, boom, I actually had an error right here where I was missing a bracket. So it should be if input.getKey, bracket, quotations, escape, quotations, bracket, and a close bracket. All right, guys, that was our first error. The second error, and I think this is an error, I'm not really sure, but I'd rather check it out now. In our extra buttons canvas, make sure that blocks raycast is actually on. I think that has to be on to make it interactable. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to work otherwise. So I'm just going to turn it on for now and make sure. All right, so let's check out what's going to happen here. With those two things done, if I want to compile, compiling is very, very simplistic. File, and you're going to go to Build Settings and click it. When you do, a brand new window is going to open up. Okay? On yours, it's not going to say Main Unity here. It's going to say Scenes and Build, and it's going to be empty. Click Add Current, and basically what you're doing is you're adding in all the scenes that you want to be compiled into your game. All right, if you haven't added a scene, it's not going to be in the game, and if there's an error in there where you're trying to go to that scene, it's not going to work. All right, so you're going to go through and you're going to add any scenes that you want to be compiled. You want to make sure you limit it to those that you have to have, and you want to make sure you limit the assets in your game to those you actually need. We haven't talked really at all, and we're not going to talk at all about optimization, but you really want to make sure this compiles as small as you can. Okay, so in my case, I am compiling for PC, Mac, and Linux. If I compile on PC, which I'm doing here, it'll run on PC. If you compile on Mac, obviously it'll run on Mac, etc. Okay, down below that is your player settings. If you click that button, bang, it's going to open up a brand new window over here in the inspector, and this window is going to allow you to choose a number of different things. For example, at the top, you can choose a product name, your company, etc. In resolution, you can go through and decide what type of resolution, whether it's full screen, whether or not you have certain supported or unsupported aspect ratios, and you might want to do that if you're building this for, let's say, a particular iPhone or particularly for a particular Samsung or something like that. You might want to actually restrict the aspect ratios you can work in. So all that is in here. Down below that is the icon, and when you look at yours, it's going to say none. It's going to look like this. It's going to say none. And basically, the icon that this is referring to is the little icon that represents your game when it's on the desktop or whatever, your actual game icon. By choosing something, anything at all, so I'm going to go through and choose. This time, I'll choose something different. I'll choose the flamethrower. By choosing something like this, then when I actually compile this game, it's not going to show the little Unity symbol. Instead, it's going to show my particular icon, which obviously you want to do. Down a little further, and this autofills. All right, so if you choose one, it autofills the rest. The splash image. Now, if you own the professional version of Unity, I don't. I'm using the public version. If you own the professional version, then you can go through and make your own splash screen. If you don't, it's going to be grayed out and checked. So it's automatically going to show the Unity splash screen. You can go through, however, and check a dialog banner box. And if you don't, it's going to say none like this. And if you choose something, so I'll say select, and I'll go back and I'll choose this again. When I do, it's going to show up in the actual selection window, and I'll show you what that is in 1 second. With everything picked the way I like, yep, I like that, I now can say build and run. And it's going to ask me to give it a name. I'm going to rename it YouTube, Zombie YouTube. I want to overwrite the existing one. I had already done it once. And it's going to compile the entire thing. Takes a second or two. Now this new window is going to pop up, and it's going to say what it was called. It's going to tell you what your graphic options are. You can choose different sizes, whatever you suggest you could support, whether or not you want it windowed or not, what kind of graphics you're going to have, etc., etc. All right, where it's going to be displayed. On this input here, it's going to allow you to go through and configure the input that you've got set up. All right, so you can go through and configure your joysticks, etc., all right here, which is awesome. And once you've got it the way you like it, I'm just going to leave it at default, and I'm going to say play. When I do, the Unity splash screen is going to show up. If you have the professional version, that won't happen. And there is our game. I can do everything I could do before. If I go up to this little button up here in the corner and I click it, the game itself then ends. Okay, so everything is working the way it's supposed to. Let's hit build and run one more time so you can see the escape button also works. Compiling. Oh, and this is the, when it said splash banner image, this is the splash banner image right here. All right, I'll just say play. And when I start up the game, there it is. I can run, I can jump, I can do everything I need to do. And if I hit escape, the game ends. All right, guys, that's it. That's how easy it is. Let's take a quick look at this. When you actually build the game, you're going to end up with a couple of things. You're going to end up with this application, as well as a data file. So Zombie YouTube data and Zombie YouTube application. Both of those are required in order to play the game. So if you want to send this to somebody, you have to send both the data as well as the application itself. And that's it, guys. You've got yourself a working game. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoyed this series. I don't think anything else has to be done. Of course, we are going to see the students' work that they've done. I'm going to have that up in a little while. And I'm also going to have up, I think, I have a correction episode that I want to make where I noticed I forgot something. So there is going to be at least one more actual episode where I forgot to add something. As well, lots of people have been asking me about an issue that they said they've been experiencing where the player can jump higher sometimes. And until recently, I thought, you know what's crazy? That doesn't happen. And I realized that it does. It does happen, and I can correct it for you. So I'm going to put up an episode where we correct it, as well as an episode where I correct some of the issues that I messed up in this very long 43 episode series. All right, guys? I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you made yourself an awesome game. If you did, send it to me. I really, really want to see it. Okay, guys? Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.